Boom, we're live. You're listening to Political Night with Chris Learson. I'm joined today by Luis Sanchez from over in the States, and today we are talking about the rise of Skywalker and everything related to Star Wars that we can fit in a general conversation. How are you doing today, my friend?
Doing well. Not gonna lie, almost forgot that we were doing the podcast today, just because I'm an idiot. And so when you texted me like, "Hey man, you ready to do the podcast?" I was like, "Oh, yeah, totally. I'm
That
fine. Yeah, I'm totally ready. Like I'm
that shit
totally
was
set up."
today? Fuck. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Well, I shouldn't really expect much because I did message you pretty much late minute saying, hey man, you want to do this fucking podcast?
yeah,
Okay, when
yeah.
you
That was
want to
like
do
two
it?
days ago.
Yeah, it's like, when do you want to do it? Oh, next couple of days. Like, we're supposed to do it yesterday, but the night before, like, so 2 days ago, I was, suffice it to say, a little bit intoxicated to wake up early in the morning to do a podcast over in the States. So last
Fair.
night I made sure I had plenty of sleep. But anyway, getting off that, gotten off track. Listen, again, if I get off topic, just fucking say, hey man, we're talking about Skywalker, not fucking your bad drinking habits. So who? Um,
Sounds good.
all
We're
right,
talking about
so
Star Wars.
yeah,
Fun.
it's all about Star Wars, man. All right, so I went and seen the Rise of Skywalker twice already.
So have
Um,
I.
the first viewing, I really loved it. The second, I had a couple of grimes. I think the issues that I had initially going in sort of confounded in the next time. But we'll start off and we'll get your first thoughts on the movie.
Okay. I also saw it twice.
Yep.
I guess just a general background of the prequels suck, but they're fun.
Yeah.
The original trilogy is amazing,
Yep.
except for the Return of the Jedi. I have issues with. I get bored during the last act, up
Yep.
until the lightsaber battles and whatever. This new trilogy of movies, I was excited for at the time.
Mm.
I thought I liked Force Awakens the first time I saw it, but then after I watched it again, I was like, it's kind of boring.
It's
Last
a
Jedi,
remake of New Hope. That's all.
yeah,
It's the same.
the
It's
last the
retreading.
last Jedi. Last Jedi is
Mm.
actual trash. It's an actually, in my opinion, the worst Star Wars movie.
Oh yeah.
Even Episode One is at least fun sometimes. It
Yep.
has a cool lightsaber battle at the end, and pod racing is cool. There's
Yep.
nothing redeeming about Episode Eight, really.
Yep.
Uh, and so Episode 9 was coming around. I had zero expectations. I was hoping for at least a 5 out of 10. That's what I
Yep.
was like. If I can come out of this movie with an average, just fine, I'd be ecstatic.
So
And I
going
left the
in with
movie.
low expectations and hoping that it would be growing from there, type of thing.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
as I left the first viewing, I realized I thought it was my first viewing. I was very hyped. I was at by the end. I was like, "This is great! Like this was a really good movie." After like cooling off a little bit, I realized it's good.
Hmm.
I saw it again. It's good. It's not the best. It
Hmm.
has issues. It's good. It's a good Star Wars.
Yeah.
I now know I have no idea where to rank it in because everyone likes ranking all the Star Wars movies. I have no idea where to put this movie.
Yeah.
It's somewhere above the prequels and the new trilogies, but below the original trilogy. It's somewhere in this mix of like the anthology film. It's somewhere between
Hmm.
like Rogue One and Solo. I like Solo a lot, so it's
Yep.
somewhere around there is where I put this movie.
Well, you did leave out two of the most important Star Wars movies in that little bit of a rant, and that's the Ewok movies, man. Like,
And yeah,
we can't
the
talk.
Christmas special.
Yeah, or the Christmas special, yeah. But honestly, like, when I first watched the movie, I was like, this is actually really good. I loved the dynamic between Poe, Ray, and Finn. I thought that needed to be
Same.
spread out more in the trilogy. And I remember watching the movie going, why didn't I have more of this? I
I
needed
know
more of this.
that trio is really cool. I want to see more.
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that we didn't get it sort of really disappointed me. But uh, okay, we have to talk about, because it's right in the opening crawl of the movie, is Emperor Palpatine's return.
Okay, so the opening crawl, I watched it with my friend, and
Hmm.
my mouth was agape the first like 10 minutes of the movie,
Hmm.
starting with the opening crawl because it reminded me a lot of Episode 3 because
Yeah,
Episode three's opening crawl starts with war, and I was like,
yeah,
okay, we're in war, I guess it's Star Wars, that makes sense.
yeah, exactly.
This movie starts with what is it? The dead speak, and I was like, okay, wow, we're just going just exposition dump right in the crawl.
Hmm.
By the way, Palpatine's alive, and there you go, like Mr.
I,
Sheev Palpatine
I,
alive.
I talked to a friend of mine just after coming out and seeing the movie,
Yeah.
and I was like, I was like, they needed to do something, and we sort of, because she's the one I brainstorm stories with, like, you know what I mean? If I'm stuck on a story, like, I just talk to her, and we sort of brainstorm how to make it better. And
Yeah.
I honestly said, like, if in Return of the Jedi, that very last scene where they kill Snoke, and then they sort of face each other, and if Palpatine had have walked out in that moment, or a
Yeah.
hologram had have shown up. You know what I mean? Just that
Yeah,
sort of
yeah.
little bit of a tease that he's still around or whatever.
You hear a laugh or something in an intercom.
Exactly, like, or and like he comes and says, "All right, you've fulfilled your destiny. You're now part of the dark side." So Ben just instantly turns and says, "Okay, yeah, I'll join you," and then
Yeah.
and then you can play out the movie exactly the same way as he turns to Ray and says, "Join me,"
Yeah.
and like you can have that same moment in the movie. Just you need to add Palpatine into that scene. The problem with the sequel trilogy is there's no throughway.
Yeah.
Hate the prequels all you like, but you can
It was
watch 1, 2, and 3 and know it's one story they're trying to tell.
the prequels were planned. Like
Exactly.
I barely give George Lucas credit for anything. He has some cool ideas. For example, the dark saber. We'll talk about Mandalorian later, but the
Yes,
dark saber was
yes.
his idea.
Oh, really?
He has cool ideas.
But implementing those
But
ideas and
he's terrible at it.
yeah.
So at least the prequels have like some sort of cohesive, like, all right, I want this to be the story of like the rise and fall of Anakin Skywalker, Jedi's at their prime. They're
Mhm.
like I there's a way to defend the prequels that I have done before, not
Yep.
because they're good films, but because they're interesting.
There are
The story
great
isn't that
moments in
bad.
those movies.
I want to say, everyone listening to this and watching this, most important review of the prequels is done by our Lord and Savior Alex Jones. Everyone, look up Alex Jones prequels on YouTube. Watch that like 2-minute video. He explains the politics and the reasoning why Palpatine was doing what he was doing in the prequel, and it makes it actually very interesting.
Really?
Of like Palpatine like attacking himself and trying to play the victim in order to gain power that way, to sympathize with everyone, and then to use that to take over. Like it was great. It was a great explanation in like 3 minutes.
Do you think that he actually talked to Lucas about that, or is this just something that he came up with? You know what I mean? Because
Who? Alex Jones?
yeah, like I don't know,
I
man.
doubt
Because like
you talked to the, I think here's what happened. Here's why. I think because Alex Jones is a conspiracy theorist who's really good at conspiracy theories.
Mhm.
And so the prequels is just a massive conspiracy story. And so of
Yeah.
course he's looking at it through that lens. And so
He's
he's
able to
analyzing
break
it
it
from
down.
he's a perfect person to analyze the prequels
Yeah.
because the prequels are just a giant conspiracy.
Yeah, that's true. That's you did on the old podcast, Southern Cross Resistance. Go check it out. We break down Solo and a few other political stuff on that one. But I remember you did actually tell me about the Alex Jones breakdown of the prequels then on that
Yeah, yeah.
podcast. And
I always bring it up because people need to watch it.
well, I went and watched it probably like the next day after that podcast, and I was like, he's fucking right. Like, it's actually fucking really brilliant. Like if I could find it online, I'd probably insert it somewhere into this video. Maybe I'll chuck it
Okay.
onto the end, like just
Yeah, that'd
tag
be
it on
good.
the end or something. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's really brilliant. Like just the way he is able to analyze the whole 3 movies. But anyway, we're getting off track. We're talking about the prequels and other
Well,
sequels again.
the reason I brought that up is because like the prequels, like Alex Jones can describe the main story of the prequels in like 2 minutes,
Yeah.
and like you know what I mean. Like most people can do that with the original trilogy. You can describe it in few. This trilogy is hard to describe. Like, what is the point of it? It's like, okay, so there's another rebellion happening because there's another empire.
On the rise,
But it was all secretly Palpatine's plan from the beginning. But he was on another planet. Like Kylo Ren's there too. Like there's no
Yeah.
cohesive ideas really. Like I will say I have seen some reviews on the Last Jedi that are compelling enough. Oh, we're getting calls.
Yep, I am. Can't talk. Sorry, Steph.
The Last Jedi has an interesting
Hang
point
on.
of
I gotta send. Yeah, keep going. I gotta send a message. Like, yeah, keep talking.
okay.
Just,
Yeah. In the Last Jedi, like one of the things that I thought were really interesting is like even the Last Jedi has a fairly cohesive like plan, like in terms of like its overarching like, and I think J.J. Abrams tried to take in a little bit of the stuff from the Last Jedi and use it in the Rise of Skywalker to like, okay, fine, Rian Johnson, I'll use some of your things. For example, the idea that like anyone could be a Jedi was kind of neat.
Yeah,
I didn't like it at first. But I know what that could have been a cool idea if it was like implemented well. And then he ends up doing the whole thing where it's like, well, we probably should have mentioned at the beginning of the spoilers, but
Mm.
everyone should.
Oh
I'm
well,
sure everyone has.
I'll put it in the description, just like
Yeah,
spoilers,
fair enough.
spoilers, spoilers. Yeah.
The fact that Rey's a Palpatine is like kind of negates all of that, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
But
Well, yeah.
the whole thing, I don't know. It's so there's no cohesive like main point to this trilogy, and the reason I think is because they didn't. One, they didn't plan it, and they had multiple people working on it. Or it was like, okay, J.J. Abrams, here's your first movie. All right, Johnson, you do it. And then there was going to be a third director. I don't remember who
Colin
it was.
Trevorrow.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then they sacked him and got J.J. Abrams instead. And so I feel like everyone had a different idea of what they wanted this trilogy to be without talking to each other.
Yeah.
And I think this trilogy would have been really good if there was some cohesive. Like, I don't care if even if it was Rian Johnson's idea. I didn't like The Last Jedi. That's it, because it was not a good movie.
Yeah.
But like, if it was just 3 movies that he was like, all right, here's my plan. Here's a story I'm trying to tell from beginning, middle, and end, and let's do that. Then I'd be fine. At least there's something to like hold on to and like dissect in some way. With this trilogy, there's nothing. It's all over the place, and that's what makes The Rise of Skywalker so frustrating to watch. I think is because it's like it's good. There's a lot of really cool parts, but it's a mess because it's trying to fix everything, and it can't in 2.5 hours.
Also, none of the original characters really play that significant a role in this new trilogy. Like, you know, you could say that about the prequels, but Anakin Skywalker becoming Darth Vader is a main theme in the. Because I was thinking about this the other day. Like, what does Luke do? He really doesn't do anything, and he dies. He inspires a couple of people. Yeah, well.
In this trilogy,
yeah,
or
okay. Yeah, in the new trilogy. The old one, Obi-Wan Kenobi, teaches everything that he can to Luke in order to go up against Vader. The 2 main characters, or 3 actually, include Yoda. They travel through the prequels into the sequels, and they have a large impact on them. These ones, they really don't, aside from, this is the offspring of the kids from the movies you really like back over here. And, like, Leia doesn't really do anything. Han definitely doesn't do anything.
Just dies.
Just falls off a friggin' balcony after being stabbed. It's like, come on, man, like, you know. And Luke is just grumpy, and Mark Hamill's even said it in the past before that, you know, he was just so disappointed with Rian Johnson's interpretation.
I actually don't mind. I don't mind grumpy old man Luke.
Oh, really?
It's a weak. It's the explanation as to why he's grumpy is very weak. Of just like, oh, for 1 second I lost control and almost decided like that. Like for a split second I'll kill him, and then I realize I won't. It's like really that's your explanation why your entire life now you're just gonna be a grumpy old man. It's weak, but the idea of like, okay, so this is why I was saying is like there's a lot of stuff in Rian Johnson's movie that like had made kind of made sense of this whole like having to like out with the old in with the new kind of thing. Like the idea of the gray Jedi, like in the legend stuff, was really compelling because they would realize that like, oh, okay, so like the Sith are bad because they're just evil nothing, and the Jedi are also bad just because they think they're good and they will do anything. But they end up being warriors at the end. It's like the monk warriors thing. This is what happened in the prequels of why their downfall is interesting.
That's the one good thing about the Return of the Jedi is they actually point out that fact, you know, that the Jedi aren't really the good guys in the prequel series. You know what I mean? Everyone likes to think they are, and yes, they're being manipulated by something even worse, but
this is why Yoda's exile makes way more sense because he realizes at the very end, like, oh shit, like like this whole thing that I've been trying to build and like work with like is the problem, and like it's not just as simple as the Sith are bad and we're good. It's way more complicated than that, and I have doomed so many people. Now I have to exile myself. Like that's it makes way more sense than Luke just like I made a one bad and oh no I gotta stop now.
Yeah, I ignited my lightsaber at the wrong time. Now I'm just gonna hide out on this island and die. It's like no, man. Like you know
but him being grumpy at the Jedi stuff makes total sense to me. Like the idea that like Luke like realizing the Jedi were wrong too. Like that's that could have been interesting.
But also every Jedi that he's ever met lied to him.
Literally.
You know what I mean? Like, you know, so like at the end of Return of the Jedi, I'm not sure even why he'd want to become a Jedi himself. I mean, like, Obi-Wan lied to him, Yoda lied to him, and the only one that was ever really truthful was Anakin.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? From a certain point. Oh, who the...
Just mute your
No.
phone, man.
Yeah, I'm turning it off.
All right. No worries.
Okay.
Rocket. Yeah,
I'm usually
I don't
not
know,
this
man.
popular.
Yeah,
Only
it's
when I'm...
only when we're recording.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But, oh shit! Now I lost my train of thought.
I don't know. We're
Yeah, but
kind of comparing the
yeah,
three trilogies.
Anakin. Well, Darth Vader was the only one truthful to Luke in the entire thing, in the entire three
Hilarious.
movies.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan lied to him about who his parentage was. Yoda lied to him about pretty much the same thing, and even his sister. It's like would have saved a few awkward moments when you first met, Luke, and saying, "Oh, by the way, don't make out with that girl." Why is that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we'll tell you later. Just don't do it. Trust us.
Just don't do
Trust
it.
us.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, it's just like I don't know, man. Like I don't know why the dude eventually became a Jedi. There's in the comic books he's married to somebody. What's her name? Like this in
Oh,
the
and
EU.
yeah, in the
Mara
Legends of
Jade.
Mara Jade.
Mara Jade. I
Yeah.
thought, and this is what I thought they were going to do with Rise of Skywalker, was introduce Mara Jade, or
That'd be
the
nice.
concept of her, and she was actually in the temple while it burnt. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And maybe she was pregnant, or you know what I mean? Something a little. I know it's a kids' movie and all that sort of stuff, but you can sort of like look it up. That's a perfect way of making something dark, then go into
Well,
something a bit more lighter.
here's another thing that's interesting about the Rise of Skywalker. Terrible
Mhm.
name. Hard to say.
Yeah, I'll
The
just
Rise
call
of
it
Skywalker.
Skywalker. I've just been calling it Skywalker.
Don't even use that word. Just the
Mm.
Rise of the Jedi works just fine.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
that's true. Yeah.
the because that movie just takes another one of the Legends comics. The Dark Empire. Is it Dark Empire? I think
Yeah,
that's what
with
it
the
is. Where
clones. Yeah.
Yeah, where Palpatine creates a clone system in case, like, as a contingency plan in cases everything fails, and
Yeah.
that's how he ends up surviving. It's pretty much the same thing. I will say, I think this movie was going to do that. I think. Hold on, let me be more specific.
Yeah.
Make Rey a clone. I think that's what this movie was trying to do. This has been my theory since
We talked about this in Solo, how we both thought, like, because I gave you the theory that she was the clone of Luke from the hand that got chopped
Yeah.
off in the...
It's a big theory that like a lot of people had, and it made so much sense. And I think that's what they were building towards. The reason why Maz Kanata had the lightsaber, and she was going to say a story for another time. The fact that in The Last Jedi we see Maz Kanata like with a jetpack flying around. It's like, oh, we know she can take care of herself doing like adventures. Maybe she went on an adventure in Bespin, found the lightsaber, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like it seemed like there was seeds for stuff like this. Your parents are no one. Well, her parents could have been, she doesn't have parents. She was created. It would have made sense, and I think that's what the Rise of Skywalker was going to do. And I have a feeling J.J. Abrams probably wanted to, and Disney was like, "That's too weird. We can't do that. We got to make her a Palpatine." This is why, like, you see the Snoke clones tubes in his castle situation. I think it was all setting up like the cloning stuff. I think one thing that is interesting, I think Palpatine was a clone every time we saw him until now. This is a theory that kind of makes sense, but I don't know.
As in from the original trilogy as well? Or?
Yeah, from the prequels to the original trilogy, that was a clone, and the real Palpatine has been on this planet the whole time.
So would that mean that she's... Oh, okay, I'm following you now.
Yeah, so she's the daughter of clones.
Okay.
It's hard to it's one of those theories that like can work either way, and it really doesn't matter if it's true or not because the story is exactly the same.
Yeah.
Well, so
yeah, I suppose it could work like that, but the thing is, he has no scars.
That's what. Yeah, like he's missing fingers, and that's about it. It's like
even his face, it doesn't have the indent on the forehead. The scarring that he got from Windu at the end of 3, they're not there, which makes me
that's
think
why
that this
that
body
theory
is a
is.
clone.
I think we are going to get a bunch of comics, which I started. We'll get into this later, but I started reading some of the Star Wars comics, and I've been watching Clone Wars and Rebels, and I've been playing the games. Like, I'm like very invested in Star Wars right now.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping we'll get some comic or book explaining a lot of the missing pieces here, because there's so much that is just like you just forgot to put it in, or just the way this movie. Because if this movie spent less time trying to fix the problems of the last one,
Hmm.
then I think they could have had time to explain a lot of the stuff and rather. Because this movie is just the reason it's so fun, because Star Wars is supposed to be fun, in my opinion. But the reason why this movie I think is really fun is because every like 15 minutes it's a new thing.
Yeah,
It's constantly moving. It's almost like watching the Clone Wars, where every 20 minutes it's a new episode, and you're like, this is fun.
it
This
sort
is
of
we're
reminds
moving.
me of the Indiana Jones version of Star Wars.
Oh, for
You
sure.
know what I mean? Like, there's a lot. It really hit home that part where they're lifting up the dagger and they're sort
Yeah,
of measuring
literally.
it. I'm like, oh, I
That's
see what they're doing
exactly
here. A bit of
great
Indiana
execution, yeah.
Jones. What I really, actually, I can't take away from any of the sequel trilogy is the dynamic between Rey and Ben. I'll call him Ben because he becomes Ben at the end.
Yeah.
You know?
Kylo Ren is the
Yeah.
only good thing about this trilogy.
Look, I don't mind Rey. Like, you know what I mean? People give her.
Why? Rey's boring.
Yeah,
Rey's
maybe,
nothing.
but
Rey's literally nothing.
I don't know, man. There's something charming about Daisy Ridley. I think, like I like her charisma, and I think that sort of
What
wins me over.
charisma? He has
Huh?
like no charisma in my opinion.
There's a moment in Force Awakens that really got to me where the Millennium Falcon's not working properly, and she pulls something out, and
I bypassed the compressor.
she just got this giggly like moment, and
Yeah.
like I don't know, I found that charming. That sort of
And she's a Dutsy Mary Sue.
yeah,
That's fine.
well, no, she endears me. I don't know what it is exactly, and like
Fair
yeah,
enough.
sure,
I think
I
it's extremely boring.
I
I
yeah.
have like no attachment to that character at all. If she were to die at the end of the movie, I'm like, all right, that's fine.
But there are moments where I really love her dynamic between, again, like Kylo Ren, Ben, especially at the end of Episode 8, which is very contentious, I know, but they've just defeated Snoke, or the Red Guard, or whoever those blokes were, and then he's trying to coax her over. And it's just
Yeah, that's a great scene.
it's one little line where she's just like, "Oh, Ben, don't do this."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I really
Yeah, it's great.
yeah, I really love that moment. You know what I mean? Like,
Their relationship is fantastic. I
Mm.
think the best thing Ryan Johnson did in his movie was the Force Skype calls. Those were great.
yeah,
And J.J. Abrams took that and ran with it and made it like so epic in Rise of Skywalker with the lightsaber scene at the end. He just said
Mm.
like that was great
Yeah.
scene. Yeah, that whole dynamic between the two was like very, very compelling to me until they kiss at the end of 9 and ruined everything. But I'm just gonna pretend that didn't happen because
Yeah.
in my head it didn't need to be there. It had that. I was like, that's not what this is.
yeah. They probably didn't need to kiss or anything like that, but I think it was sort of a way for the people who were what's the word shipping the two. Is that I don't know.
Yeah, that is
They're trying to get them together, and everyone's like, I think Kevin Smith said it perfectly. I watched it in
Yeah, the Raylo ship.
yeah. Kevin Smith said it perfectly. Like half the internet at that moment were like, no, when they kiss, and then the other half when he dies were like, yeah, you know what I mean? It's like JJ wins. He gets like both sides of the internet sort of.
I don't know. I feel like everyone agrees Kylo Ren is great. I don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a single negative review on like him.
Yeah.
Like as his character arc, his story. Adam Driver did a fantastic performance in this movie,
yeah.
considering he had like 3 lines. If you know, I watched the movie twice, and the second time I watched, I realized. Well, I think I noticed it the first time, but the second time I really realized he barely talks in this movie,
Really?
but he's still extremely compelling. Like
he's got the whole dialogue. Like I know where you are.
he has like 2. Yeah, he had like 2 scenes where he's like has like dialogue. The rest of the movie is just him, just facial reactions.
Yeah.
It's like that whole fight between him and Rey on the remains of the Death Star.
Mm-hmm.
Like he doesn't say anything in there. At the end of the movie, I don't think he says anything at the end of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like that whole as soon as he gets to the planet, he gets to I can't think of the name of the planet. But he gets
Essagon.
something like that.
Yeah.
He gets there and like I don't think he says a single word and then he dies.
Yeah.
I don't think he says anything yeah.
No, I guess you're right.
But he still did a really good performance. This isn't like a knock on him. It's just I wish he had more lines. But Adam Driver did a great performance because the fact that you didn't even notice it. Like people are like people don't notice when you say it. They're like he didn't talk. It's like no, he just did that good of a performance where you're like I can follow this guy's story. I know what he's thinking just based on his facial expressions.
Yeah. So now we're talking about Kylo Ren. We have to talk about the big elephant in the room is the Han Solo scene. And again, spoilers, guys.
Not that
Like,
big of a, not that elephant in the room in my opinion. It's not
hey,
that complicated.
I
That
really,
would
I know, but everyone keeps saying, "Oh, it's a memory." I have a theory that it's not just a memory. I
okay.
think that that Leia used all of her energy to maybe bring Han back for a moment.
Yeah,
You
maybe.
know, like that's sort of how I felt when I was watching it, and like how I don't think she's actually dead. I think it's more like a coma type of thing. They just don't really notice because she
She
dies when
disappears at the end of yeah.
at the end she disappears. But I'm talking about when she falls for the first time, when they're
Oh
on
yeah,
the water
she's
to at the point where he dies. I think she
that's
makes
her
a
like.
connection with him, and
Mhm.
then that connection is sort of keeping her tenement to this realm, before drifting over, if that makes sense. And I think she sort of
Yeah.
projects either projects Han from the afterlife somehow, or that's actually her as Han.
I believe, and I don't know if this is confirmed or just a rumor, but I'm pretty sure that that scene was originally going to have Leia be there, but then she
Yeah,
died, so they couldn't get her to do that, so they did Harrison Ford instead.
yeah, okay.
And this is why Harrison Ford gets there and his hair's all disheveled and
Mm.
long as like I don't want to cut my hair for this stupid movie. I just give I'll record for 15 minutes and then just give me my paycheck and I'll go
I
home
really
because I'm
didn't
tired
even
of
notice
fucking
that.
Star Wars.
I really didn't even
Yeah,
notice his hair, to be
it looks
completely
like he
honest.
just showed up.
Yeah,
But he
okay.
just I'll do this for 15 minutes, give me my money, and I want to be done with Star Wars for like please.
Yeah, he even told that young fella that picked up from Solo, the young guy that plays Han Solo in the
Yeah, what about him?
yeah, like he rang up Harrison Ford and said, "Have you got any advice?" And Harrison Ford's like, "Yeah, don't do
Yeah.
it."
It's
And
pretty
it's
much
like,
because Harrison Ford freaking hates Star Wars.
yeah. I don't, I guess it's like, it's probably haunted his entire freaking career. You know what I mean? Like
Well,
that.
yeah, now he's just forever Han Solo, and that's not what he wanted. He just like I'll do a fun movie, whatever, that's fine. Like,
Mhm.
and then I'll move on,
Yeah,
not
and
be part of this massive franchise and forever be remembered as only one role. It's like I'm a real actor. Like, can I
yeah.
do other things, please?
Well, he's great in Jack Ryan, like Indiana Jones. You can't take away from him. There's
Yeah.
heaps of movies that he's really terrific in, but he made an iconic character, and
Oh,
there's
for
no
sure.
way of escaping that. Even Carrie Fisher says that if she had known how big Star Wars was going to be, she would never have done it.
Yeah. Well, Carrie Fisher was like the most badass of all time. Like, she's great.
Exactly,
Um,
exactly, and
but
people
anyway,
don't
but anyways,
follow
yeah,
that
that
template
scene,
much. Of,
that
yeah.
scene that you're talking, I think, I don't know. That could be true. I don't think it matters that much to me. I don't really care if it was just a memory in Kylo's head
Hmm.
or if it was actually Leia doing that. She definitely had some connection to Kylo at that point,
Yep.
and had like drain the final bit of her energy to do something.
Hmm.
Uh, I don't know if it was necessarily uh,
Han.
to project Han or
Mm.
I don't know.
It could
Uh,
have been
'cause there was,
easy just pulling a memory out of him.
yeah,
Something that he
maybe.
had blocked or something. Like.
Well, that's why that scene is a literal memory. Like that scene is literally a conversation they had when he killed Han Solo. Like that's the same scene. They had
Yeah.
the same dialogue with like one extra line at the end.
When I went and saw it at the cinema, that moment where he turns around and this is the second time, and throws it into the water. Right behind us, about a few rows back, all I heard was "Yay!"
That's funny.
like that, and
Yeah, and I'm over.
some young girl like was just
That's
so
great.
ecstatic about seeing that scene. Like, yeah,
This is
he's
what's
come
nice.
around.
This is what's cool about this trilogy is like kids who are watching it right now. I feel this say there these this trilogy is better than the prequels, like as
Mm.
a whole, I guess. Like in terms of quality, at least,
Visually, they are. I'll
at
give them
least
that.
these kids are growing up with cool Star Wars instead
Yeah.
of like what I grew up with, which was the prequel. Uh,
Yeah.
so
See, I remember leaving Phantom Menace, and I was
mhm.
stoked, man. Like, when it's like, oh, we finally got Star Wars back. I love the pod racing, Darth Maul, that whole
Yeah,
bit. And that was the moments that I was leaving the theater with. I really wasn't, oh yeah, Jar Jar, he's fine. Like
yeah,
fucking, they'll adopt his character. They'll improve his character as trilogy goes on. I was a bit wrong about that one, but
a little bit.
yeah. Uh, but I remember walking out, and all my mates. I think how old was I when it came out? Was it 2000 that it came out? I can't remember. When did Phantom Menace come out?
1999,
99? Yeah.
I think.
Alright, so I would have been, shit, fucking 12. 13, something like that. So I'm
Yeah, I
more.
was 3.
Oh Jesus! You make me like an old man, you bastard. Um, I remember leaving the theater, and it was me, a bunch of mates, and another mate of mine who was in his 40s.
Mhm.
And we're leaving, and all us kids are like, "Yay! You know, Star Wars is back! How awesome! How awesome!" And this is the first critique I ever heard of the Phantom Menace, or even the prequels, to begin with. Was me mate Darren? He just turned around. He's like, "The fuck was that?"
Yeah.
It's like, what? That ain't my fucking Star Wars. It's all goofy fucking shit. What the fuck is Jar Jar Binks? And he
Yeah.
literally just, like, on the car ride home, just laid out every shitty thing he didn't like about the movie. And by the end of it, we're like, good night, guys. Like, we were so
Yeah,
disappointed.
yeah, that's
We
one
were
of those
like,
things. So I
fuck, he's
watched that. You
right.
know Red Letter Media, the Plinkett reviews and those guys.
Yeah, yep, yep.
Yeah, I saw their review on The Rise of Skywalker after I saw the movie twice. I saw
Yep.
their review, um, and it was what I had kind of a similar reaction because I originally put like Rise of Skywalker as like a 7,
Mm-hmm.
and then after watching the review, I was like, it's probably a 6. It's fine. It's a good movie.
Yeah.
Like I had the same reaction with you. It was like,
Yeah,
oh yeah, I thought it was good, but you have points that I didn't realize. It's just fun.
yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
I left the, sorry. About 4 months ago, I went on holiday to go to Queensland. Did the whole Wet and Wild movie world thing they have going down there. It's a big theme parks, sort of.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an Aussie equivalent to, like, I say, Disney World or something like that.
Fair enough.
Anyway, I got photos of me and Batman and Wonder Woman and shit like that. But while I was down there, I was staying at my cousin's house, and episode 1 came on TV. Right, and we're all having a few drinks and all that, and I kept, like, stopping the, like, I didn't turn the movie off because it was on TV, but I kept, like, getting everyone's attention. Now, if they had just done this and changed this element of this, and if they had just done this and this, and eventually, like, my brother just turned around. He's like, "Yeah, we get it. You can make a better Star Wars film. Now shut the fuck up and let us enjoy the movie." Am I doing that? Am I? Yeah, you've been doing it for the last hour, Lisa. Shut the fuck up.
Well,
Yeah,
this is the issue with like Star Wars fans is
Mm.
that like the Star Wars fans are the worst Star Wars fans. Is just this like I know this about myself. I'm a massive Star Wars fan. Like I'm super obsessed with this world.
Mm-hmm.
It's just one of those things where like I talk with my coworker at work all the time. And just like I don't want to. I don't want to spend my life hating on Star Wars forever because I love it so much. Like I equally hate Star Wars as much as I love it.
Yeah,
it's the most important thing to me, and also I want it to not exist. It causes me so much pain and happiness at the same time.
A friend of mine said it's the worst, best relationship he's ever been in his life.
Yeah, that's what the Star Wars is.
I was like, that's a little sad, man. He's like, it's like an abusive
Yeah.
relationship at times, where you're like, oh no,
Literally.
they're getting drunk again. They're gonna give me Jar Jar and fucking,
but then they give you like the Clone Wars, and you're like, this is a great show. This is amazing. We're talking about Star Wars is great, and then like Episode 8 comes out, and you're like,
God damn
it. But like Clone Wars though.
And everybody watched the Clone Wars. The Clone Wars is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
It's like the old South Park thing. Member berries. Remember?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So where do you rank this movie then? Do you have a ranking? What's your favorite Star Wars first of all?
Favorite
Star Wars?
Oh fuck! I've been debating this for a while now, and it always goes between New Hope and Empire. For some reason. Like
a lot of people have that. Like I don't know.
My top 4, they're always in flux.
Okay.
I can give it
out of order, what are your favorites?
Out of order, New Hope, Empire, Revenge of the Sith, and Rogue One. I really love Rogue One. It just expands so much of the lore. You know what I mean? Like, if you watch Rogue One back to back with A New Hope...
What lore does...
Well, a bit more of the technology, like, just a bit more of the story. You know what I mean? The wills.
But nothing that we already... I have issues with Rogue One because it doesn't tell me anything that I didn't already know.
Well, I didn't know about the... what's that guy? Something of the wills. He protects the wills or something. The blind guy.
Well, the wills was never. The wills never. The wills was an idea that George Lucas had that never came to fruition.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is, there's that blind
the idea
guy.
That I'm assuming you mean like ideas of like other Force stuff. Like people can experience the Force in different ways. Like there's different factions. It's like have Judeo-Christian. There's like Jews and Christians,
Mm.
and there's different denominations of one religion, of the
Yeah.
overarching religion. That's how the Force is.
Yeah.
Rogue One, the Clone Wars has it like this.
Mm.
Like this is why I always go back to Clone Wars, because it's like, cool. I know this
I
stuff. I didn't
When you
need it.
told me you rewatched the Clone Wars the other day, I went out and I brought all, was it 5 seasons? I think it is, or six.
It's
Six.
five, and then the last season is kind of lost episode, lost arcs
Oh,
that
okay.
were filled in. But yeah, six
Yeah.
seasons.
Okay. Yeah, I went out and got it like just after talking to you the other
Fuck
day,
yeah,
and I was
man.
just like, oh, I've got to rewatch these fucking things, man. Like, you know.
You could
Um.
probably skip the first season. Just go right to season 2 or 3.
Nah, I'm a completionist, man. Like,
Same.
I've got to watch it, even if they're fucking terrible. I've got to chuck them on, you
Right.
know.
Uh,
But yeah, so they would probably be my top 4 Star Wars films. And
okay.
again, it would fluctuate. I can't really pick what order they'll go in. And one of these days, I'm going to put up a full review of each movie and then do a ranking, you know. But again,
Fair.
those 4 movies, and I just really love like you watch Rogue One, then go straight into
A New
A
Hope.
New Hope. Like even the Grand Moff Tarkin,
Mhm.
Tarkin,
Tarkin.
Tarkin.
Grand Moff Tarkin.
Yeah, even his scenes where he's going in to blow up the rebel base. You know what I mean? Even that scene, like it was always one of those scenes where I just, you know, sort of tune out, check Twitter, you know, or whatever. You know what I mean? You're just really not paying attention that too
Oh,
much
I
that
like Grand Moff
much.
Tarkin. I like Grand
Yeah,
Moff Tarkin
but I'm
in
just
the
saying, like
in
compared to
original
the
trilogy.
lightsabers and having Han on screen and all that
Yeah,
sort of stuff. Yeah.
I think the thing about Star Wars too is there's so much. There, I was going to say something that's not correct.
Mm,
There's kind of a lot for everyone. Like I like this. This is what I like politics.
mm,
You know you and I like politics.
mm.
The politics of the prequels in itself isn't bad. It's just explained terribly. This is
Yeah.
why there's the issues with it. And so like for me, like I like this slower stuff in Star Wars. I like Grand Moff Tarkin
Yeah.
and just the whole like idea of like the how the ranking system works. It's like you have someone who's kind of on par with Darth Vader, even though he has no power really.
Do you
He's
think?
just in control.
I,
I don't know. I like that kind of dynamic between
I always
seeing
thought that
stuff like
he
that.
had a bit of respect for Tarkin. You know,
Oh
like
yeah.
just like
Well,
this. You know.
they explain this in the Clone
Yeah.
Wars.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because Tarkin is in the Clone Wars. I have
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Tarkin is in the Clone Wars, and you can see like everyone hates Tarkin except for Anakin. Anakin's the only one that's like, you know what, Tarkin, you're right.
Yeah.
The only one
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
agrees with.
Uh,
It's really interesting to see.
Rewatch it. I rewatched all the movies just recently, and I do this probably once a year. You know, what I mean,
Same.
I'll go chuck them on, and sometimes I'll throw on like Clone Wars. You know what I mean? Like I'll watch 1 and 2, binge watch the whole season, then get into 3, and sort of go on from there. But one thing I never really noticed, and I didn't even notice on the 5th, 8th friggin' screening of Revenge of the Sith, was Tarkin on the
What
bridge of the
about?
Death Star.
Oh yeah, at the
Yeah,
end.
I didn't
Yeah,
even
you can see him.
friggin' notice it, like because your main focus is they're building the Death Star, there's
Yeah,
Darth Vader, you know, like
yeah,
it's
yeah.
all coming together. And then the
Yeah.
last time I was watching, I was like, who's that guy? Holy
It's
shit!
Grandma
Like,
Tarkin.
yeah. I was like, holy fucking shit, that's fucking awesome. I also
It's
love
super
how
rad.
they're pulling characters from the Clone Wars and interjecting them
Man, you
into
have
the
no. I love
movies.
that so much.
Yeah.
The Saw Gerrera is a
Mhm.
great example of it. Saw Gerrera from Rogue One, Forrest Whitaker's character, is introduced in the Clone Wars. Like the first time we see Saw Gerrera is
Yeah.
in the Clone Wars, and then they adapted his character for Rogue One and
Yeah.
made him like different. In the Fallen Order game, he's also in there, and you can get kind of a more middle ground of like
Yeah.
the beginnings of his rebellion stuff and why he was evicted from the rebels, and it was just like
See,
he's a little extreme
I
and
want to
kind of
see
created his
more of
own
him.
brand.
I want to see more of him. If they're gonna do a
Play
TV,
the
if
game.
they're gonna do a Disney Plus show, I'd watch him and his crew. You know
Forrest
what I mean?
Whitaker. I'd love to see Forrest Whitaker just walking around slowly.
Yeah,
Like
exactly. How he got that monster, like, and there are a couple of cool
the
designs.
board got it.
Yeah, and there are a couple of cool designs of the people around him, like let's say bounty hunters, but that's not right. The rebel troops or whatever you want to call them. You know, I was like, I want to know who that guy is. What does that guy
Yeah,
do? You know, and
yeah. I'd like to be there. I'm sure there might even be a comic for that.
mm,
If there isn't, I'd read it. That'd be fun.
yeah. But
Uh,
Yeah, no, okay, one like, we'll touch on a couple more things in the prequels, like two things I really want to talk about. That scene with the ships at the very end of the movie. I know people are going to be watching this and like, these motherfuckers are all over the place. It's like, yeah, dude, we like Star Wars, that's why, you know what I mean? Like, this is
Yeah.
pretty much any Star Wars geeks fucking
Well, we're talking about the
conversations, yeah.
final movie in the saga. It's like we
Exactly.
kind of have to bring up the old stuff.
Exactly. But did you notice all of the ships in the background?
Oh, at the end of
Yeah.
Rise of Skywalker, yeah, it's there's the you
I've
see the
paused it
ghost
heaps of
ship.
times just to
Yeah, you
see.
see the ghost ship. You see every single
Yeah,
ship you've ever
the
seen in
Mandalorian ship's there.
no, that one isn't. Okay, I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's very close. It looks like the Mandalorian ship. It's not quite.
Oh,
It might be like a different version of it because the Mandalorian ship was I think one of those scrap design ships that never
okay.
got made. And I think what you see at the end of the Rise of Skywalker is that this is closer to the original design rather
Right.
than Mandalorian's actual
Well,
ship.
it's very hard to see,
It
so
looks like it though.
maybe
Yeah, I know.
maybe
I
they'll
don't.
retcon it. You know what I mean?
Maybe
And
they
sort of
totally could if they would. I mean, hey, the rebels ship is there. The Ghost Crew ship is there. The Ghost ship,
yeah.
which is great. Like it for sure is.
Well, it's also in Rogue One. It's also in the
Is
background.
it?
Yeah. The ghost ship's
Where?
also. It's like one shot and you miss it. You know what I mean? It's
Okay.
sort of like flying past the screen type of thing. And they,
Cool.
what's her name? The Twi'lek, the one with the girl.
Twi'lek. Oh,
Twi'lek.
in Rebels.
Yeah. What's her name?
Hera.
Yeah. What's her last name?
I don't know.
Well, they say General blah blah blah.
Oh,
So
okay.
they're
Cool.
hinting at in Rogue One she's already a general.
Oh, cool.
Sorry, I know you haven't finished Rebels yet, so I'm kind of spoiling a little bit there for you.
It's fine. I kind of know a lot of the stuff in Rebels that like all the cool. I've seen the scene of Ahsoka and Vader fighting. Like I've seen clips and I know a lot of the stuff that a lot of this. I'm just watching it just to like fill in the details that I don't know.
Well,
but I kind of know a lot of the outer parts.
I think Saul Guerrero shows up in an episode
in Rebels.
In Rebels,
That'd be cool.
yeah.
I don't think I've seen
and
it
it's
yet.
Forrest Whitaker. It's actually his voice doing it.
Is it really? That's really
Yeah.
cool. One of the things about the Clone Wars that blew my mind is when that episode, I think it's in season 4 or 3 or 4, I think 4, where Anakin, Ahsoka, and Obi-Wan go to that like weird just force energy thing, and they get like the visions of the past and the future and stuff, and they get Qui-Gon voiced by Liam Neeson.
See,
Liam Neeson, and
I always forget
Liam
about
Neeson
that
didn't
bit.
have to say yes to that.
That's it. But I always sort of forget about that bit over that part where Anakin's having the flash of the future, and he's seeing everything that's coming about, and they're sort of swinging around him and all that. And you see the smoke forming in the background, and then all you hear is and the mask forms. Fucking, I'm sitting there and sitting there watching it with my old man, and I've just fucking jumped out of my friggin' chair. Yeah, fucking Vader. Cool. Like that, and Dad's like, "You all right? Calm down." I was like, "Yeah, all right."
In Rebels, I'm pretty sure Vader is voiced by James Earl Jones.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, the entire show, which is pretty cool. Because Darth Vader's in it, not a lot, but a good amount of time.
I think he's in season. I think he's the big bad in season 2. If I remember.
I don't remember.
Yeah,
I think I'm on season 2 right now. I think I'm like halfway through season 2. So.
Well, I know he shows up a fair bit in season 2. Or is it season 3?
I don't
know.
Regardless.
What got me into Clone Wars was actually because I watched the first couple episodes, and I'm like, I don't care about baby, Jabba. You know what I mean? Like that. That's
that first season. That movie is the worst thing.
Yeah, and I was
okay, like, I guess we have to count the Clone Wars movie. That's probably down in one of the.
Well, they do add movies. Grievous in that. Like that's the first appearance of General Grievous. Is that animated movie? The actual animated
episode.
No, the actual animated one, not the 3D animated one.
Well, still, episode 3 came out before that animated one you're talking about, the one made by the Samurai Jack.
Yeah.
Guys, the movie came out.
Oh, did it?
Before.
Oh. Okay.
Episode 3 came out in 2005.
Oh, okay. Well, fuck what I just said then. But what got me into it, like again, like I watched the first, a few episodes. I was like, I can't get into this, and it was very spottily on like Cartoon Network, I think. I was like, yeah, nah, I'm good. Like, I don't need to watch this. But I slowly was going on YouTube, and there were certain clips like, Yoda versus Sidious, and Like there's on that bridge thing, like they sort of have a bit of a fight there, and Return of
The
Darth
stuff that got
Maul,
me
and
to like, cause yeah, I saw the first season. Like, I
Mhm.
saw the movie in the first season, like a couple episodes of the first season. I was like, this is trash. Why do
Mm.
people like this? What about this is good?
Yeah.
And so I looked into it, and what got me was when people started explaining the Mandalorian plot is the
Mhm.
coolest thing ever.
Yep.
Like the whole Duchess Satine, the pacifist Mandalorians, and then the Death Watch, and then Darth Maul coming back and
Mhm.
taking over Death Watch, having like a crime syndicate mixed with a Mandalorian crew
Yep.
fighting the probably the dumbest, coolest thing in all of Star Wars is Obi-Wan teaming up with Asajj Ventress, who,
Mhm.
if you guys don't know, Asajj Ventress is at this point is an ex-Sith witch bounty hunter, teaming up with Obi-Wan, fighting Darth Maul, who at this point has robot legs, and his brother Savage Press, who is magically modified to be a monster.
Yep.
It's the most insane thing ever, and it's amazing. And
And
it's like a
it just
15-minute
works,
fight.
man. It fucking
Right.
works,
Yeah,
like
that's the
and
kind of Star Wars garbage that I like.
yeah, and you go into it and you're like, okay, like given
Yeah.
everything you just said there, it's like, yep, I'm
Yep.
good.
Yep.
Yep.
Sounds
Yep.
good.
Yeah.
Yep. Just give me that forever, and I'm fine, and
Yeah.
I'll be happy.
Exactly. All right. So we've covered the ships. One last thing I want to.
Well, I guess
Mm,
to combine the Clone Wars topic with the movie, the fucking scene at the end
yeah, I was about to
where
get
she's
into
like,
that. Yeah.
be with me,
Yeah.
and all of the Jedi come back, and there's in the credits,
Hmm.
you see everyone. Kanan from
Yeah.
Rebels is there. Ahsoka,
Yeah,
the best
man.
Star Wars character.
Yeah.
Samuel L.
Fucking
Jackson
oath.
comes back to the
Where's our
voice.
Ahsoka movie? No, I'm gonna put my fucking foot down. Come on, man. Where's my fucking Ahsoka Disney Plus TV
Uh,
show?
we
I
okay. So
need
here's the
this.
thing.
I need
Uh,
it. Like,
Emergency Awesome
mhm.
is a YouTube channel that I really like.
Yeah, man. I'll watch that too.
He put a tweet out saying that like we should get in season 2 of Mandalorian. Ahsoka will be around in her 40s,
Hmm.
timeline wise. Have like Rosario Dawson play
Oh, fuck yeah.
Ahsoka. Like I was like, I don't like Rosario Dawson that much, but I think she'd be a really good Ahsoka. And
Dude,
I would love to see Ahsoka teaming up with Din Djarin in Mandalorian.
don't,
That'd be great.
don't talk about my wife like that, man.
Okay,
I fucking love. No, I fell in love with Rosario Dawson in Clerks too. Like,
fair.
I mean, just that, just yeah, like fucking. I just thought she was absolutely adorable. Like, I don't know. Maybe I have something for big-eyed women. I don't know what it is.
I
But
get it.
yeah, no, I absolutely love Rosario Dawson, and I never really even made the connection between the two. That'd be fucking really sweet.
Yeah,
Or even Tara Reid. Well, not Tara
yeah.
Reid. Fucking what's her name?
Uh,
The one that does all the voices for Batgirl and Raven from fucking hell. She does the voice for Ahsoka in the animated show.
Yeah. What about? Oh, just have her play it.
Just have her play it. Like she is an actress, and she is in her 40s. What is it? Tara Strong.
Yeah. Nope.
No.
Oh, you're thinking. Well, the voice of Ahsoka is Ashley Eckstein.
Oh. Oh, okay. Oh, I think-
Tara Strong is. I know who you're talking about. Yeah. Tara Strong, another voice actor who's great.
Mhm.
Um, no, Ashley Eckstein is the one that plays Ahsoka in everything.
Yeah. Oh.
Regardless,
Why do I think that was Tara
I
Strong? Maybe that was just a bit of fanfic of mine. Just sort of hoping that she was doing the voice too. But yeah, why
but
not
yeah,
just
at that
use the
scene,
original
every
actress?
voice they had. Well, real quick, that scene in the Rise of Skywalker
Mhm.
has voices that like. You didn't have to have Kanan in
No.
there. No one cares about. I like Kanan. No one cares about Kanan. I like. They had Luminara. They had Luminara from the fucking the
Yeah.
green chick with the like black
Yeah.
weird nun outfit. Like her voice is there.
Yeah.
Didn't need to be there, but that's fine. It's
But-
just straight up fan service
One
that
thing
I'm okay
I
with.
think they needed to add was the Force ghosts behind Rey.
That'd be cool.
And like how Palpatine was sort of sucking the energy or the Force out of the Kylo Ren and Rey. Maybe do a bit of a reverse thing where they're all standing behind her with their hands out like that, sort of.
No, here's a way cooler scene.
Okay.
And because we know that Force Ghosts can interact with the real world, what we do is we have all those Force Ghosts come back and fight all those Sith acolytes and have a massive battle with Force Ghosts versus Force Sith acolytes.
Fucking
And
oath.
that's what I want.
Yeah,
So that's
man.
some dumb Clone Wars garbage that I would have loved to see.
Oh, dude, you just made that whole scene fucking 10 times better. Oh,
Yeah.
fuck yeah, man. I just wanted to see, like, this whole sequel trilogy, there's really only one thing I wanted to see and never got to see, and that's Anakin and Luke interact. You know what I mean? Like,
that would have been cool.
it sort of brings the whole trilogy to a bit of a conclusion. And I know why they use Yoda in The Last Jedi, because it's more connected to... But if it was Anakin that came back and gave him the same bit of advice that Yoda did, I think it would have been that bit more impactful. You know what I mean?
Or even, or if he comes back and talks, gives the talk like talking about Obi-Wan's teaching.
Mm-hmm.
So like, hey, Obi-Wan taught both of us.
Yeah, and
like
even come back and be like, because the son saved the father, and now the son's all sort of out to it. Now the father has to come back in a sense to save the son.
Yeah, it would have been cool.
Like, that would have been really cool, and I'm so disappointed I never got it. Even Mark Hamill even said in an interview that that's sort of what he wanted. But when they said it was Yoda and a live action puppet, he was just like, geeked out on set.
I didn't mind. I didn't mind Yoda. I liked Yoda. There are moments of The Last Jedi that I think are cool. It's just the issue is that 2/3 of the movie is pointless.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the Canto Bight and what's her name? Rose Tycho
and Admiral
Holdo. 75 seconds of screen time in the new one.
Good.
Yeah,
That's fine.
Exactly.
I don't mind. People hating on people. I hate, like, on Twitter, everyone's like, if you don't like the fact that this person, that Rose Tycho wasn't in Last Jedi, or Force, whatever the fuck this movie is called.
Rise of Skywalker, yep.
The Rise of Skywalker. If you don't like the fact that he's in the movie, that means you're sexist and racist and blah, blah, blah. Like, no, I just don't like her character. It has nothing to do with her as an actor. I'm sure she's a fine person. I'd like to see her career succeed. That's fine. I don't hate on her as a person. I just like her character.
I kind of wanted to see Finn, sacrifice himself to save everyone.
I wanted to see so much more. Just this trilogy. I want to see Finn be interesting.
Yeah.
I want to see, like, the fact that he's a dissenting stormtrooper. That could have been cool.
Well, even in this movie, again, like, I'm stealing from Kevin Smith, but he was talking to one of the writers on the new He-Man TV show that he's working on. And there's a scene where he meets all those other stormtroopers, or ex-Sith troopers. What are they called again? First Order troopers. Yeah.
Stormtroopers. I think they're still called stormtroopers, though.
Are they? Okay. Well, when he meets all those, old, ones with the horses and all that sort of stuff on Endor.
Yes, the female version of Finn.
Yeah, exactly. There's a line there where I can't remember. He's like, so why did you do it? And like this guy said to Kevin Smith, he goes, the perfect little line that should have gone in there. We did it because of you. You know what I mean? You inspired us to sort of,
Yeah, that would have been
throw
cool.
it away, and I was just watching Kevin Smith's reaction. He's like, yeah, why didn't they do that? And then he's like, oh, we better stop rewriting the fucking movie before we come up with a better version of it. And JJ rings me up and doesn't put me in another Star Wars movie. But, it's just, there's certain things that they sort of drop the ball on. And I think it's because they'll, as you said before, doing cleanup for The Last Jedi. The Last Jedi.
It's hard for me to review movies and think that, like, and this is why I stopped being this kind of Star Wars person somewhat recently, in the last year or two or whatever. Like, I stopped doing the whole thing of, like, well, I had a cooler idea, and because I realized this was Game of Thrones, actually, is that, like, the reason a lot of people hated the ending of Game of Thrones, a lot of it's fair, because it was lazily done. The story itself isn't bad. This is why I like when I defend the prequels, fat air quotes. It's not that the movies are trash, but the story isn't bad. Same thing with the ending of Game of Thrones. Same thing with a lot of these movies.
I think it's a bit of a fan
like The Rise of Skywalker, like The Last Jedi. This is why I defend a lot of the choices that Rian Johnson did in terms of, like, having Luke be a grumpy old man. It's not that I had better ideas. It's just you implemented it really. It's a very messy implementation. It has nothing to do with, if this was your idea and you think that this is what Star Wars should be, that's fine. I will accept it. Star Wars is, I don't make Star Wars. I'm here to consume Star Wars. And I will do that. But do it well, please. Like, if you have an idea, let's do it. I want, like, Star Wars is massive. It will exist forever. Like, it existed before me. It'll exist after me. Just make it good. That's it. Like, make whatever story you want, as long as it's good.
Well, I'm here to consume Star Wars, but also, like, again, like, I'm a storyteller. I write a lot of stories. I have my Boba Fett fanfic that I will make a movie one day once Lucas.
Why? Boba Fett sucks.
No, I know.
Does it suck?
Since last time we had this conversation, you got me to
Even in the
defend it.
Clone Wars, the kid Boba Fett sucked.
We won't talk about Kid Boba Fett, but I don't know, man. There's something about that character that always really got to me.
What character?
But all right,
What did he do? Name one thing he did.
hey, he captured Han Solo. He's the only bounty hunter. Only bounty
No,
hunter
he
in the
didn't.
entire
Darth Vader. The
universe.
Darth Vader did it. That was all Darth Vader.
Oh, yeah. Well, no.
That was all Darth Vader. In
God
that
damn it.
scene, literally, Boba Fett is just
I
standing
even
there,
said
and
to
Darth Vader's the
myself-
one holding the blasters.
I said to
God.
myself last night, I'm not going to talk to Lewis about fucking Boba Fett because I know he's just going to trash me again.
I'm not
know,
trashing you. I'm trashing Boba Fett.
Yeah, I know, but it's sort of like it's my fan favorite, so it's like don't you be picking on my boy,
Fine.
Yeah.
Look, as a kid, I really liked IG-88, even
Yep.
though he was just stood there. I just thought his design was cool.
Yep. I think I had a toy of IG-88.
I did.
Just like and that's another thing. Like I had the Boba Fett figurine growing up, so
Yeah.
it's one of those things where him and Batman teamed up every now and then, and you know
Yeah,
what
yeah,
I mean.
of course. But what do you say? Boba Fett's great. He teamed up with Batman and
Yeah.
Spider-Man. It was amazing.
Yeah, I had a lot of adventures with Boba Fett, and I think that's
Yeah.
the big pull of Star Wars. Like someone asked me, like, what's the big? I think it was my brother-in-law. So I just don't get it. Like I was like, well, if you didn't see it as a kid because he never saw it when he was young, and he refuses to watch it now. I think just to piss my sister off. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm not watching Star Wars.
Yeah, I love people who haven't watched Star Wars. It's like
Yeah.
I feel like there's a sense of pride of people who have never seen Star Wars. Like, I was managed to avoid this massive,
Yeah,
the
and it's,
second largest IP in the world.
it's like, yeah, but now you're missing out, man. Like because I even said to him, like, I was like, well, even if you watch Star Wars now, like you let go of your hate, type of thing.
Yeah.
And you watch it now, you won't get it. And he sort of looked at me. He's like, "What's not to get?" You know what I mean? Like, bunch of guys running around with laser swords. I'm like, no, you'll never have that nostalgic feeling to that moment
I
the
disagree.
lightsaber comes on, and
I kind of disagree with this. I agree. I agree with the sense that like you will never get the nostalgic
yeah.
touch, but the idea that you'll never get Star Wars is wrong to me,
Well-
because I think if you're like if you didn't grow up with it, I think you can appreciate Star Wars by doing what I'm doing.
Mm,
Is consume all of it. Watch the movies.
Yeah.
Watch the Clone Wars. Watch the Mandalorian. Appreciate like what's cool about Star Wars has almost nothing to do with like any individual part.
Mhm.
What's cool about Star Wars is the universe that it's created,
Yeah.
and like this whole idea of like Star Wars. It's this massive galaxy that is constantly in turmoil, and there's multiple levels. There's there's this overarching level of the force, the light versus the dark. Like there's that whole overarching level,
Mhm.
but it goes all the way down to like little just crime syndicates and
Yeah.
crime lords, characters like Hondo and Akka. Like just I'm also part of this war, really just by smuggling and
Yeah.
selling drugs and stuff. It's all these layers of this massive war that's been happening over thousands of years. That's what's cool about Star Wars.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with any individual movie.
No.
Even though some individual movies are great,
Yeah.
Episode 5 is fantastic, but that's not why Star Wars is cool.
Yeah.
It's
I'll-
the movies themselves are fine.
I was talking to a friend of mine, and again, she's not a big Star Wars thing, and she doesn't hate it by any measure or whatever. She's just like, I just don't understand it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And,
a lot of people I've
I
met.
was like, what's not to understand? It's about a farm boy that teams up with a wizard to go save the princess from an evil fucking kingdom.
It's not though.
But I'm saying, I'm talking about A New Hope. That's what A New Hope is.
That's what that movie's about.
Yeah.
But here, I just had this conversation like literally a couple days ago with a coworker of mine,
Mm.
we were talking. Me and one of my coworkers, we talk about Star Wars all the time, and this other person who was there just like, stop talking about Star Wars. Like, I'm so tired of like hearing everyone talk about Star Wars. They're like,
Yeah.
I've seen it, I don't care, I don't get it. Like, I'm confused
Mm.
about it, and it's like, and we're like, what's confusing about it? It's like, well, where do you start? It's like, do you start in like, there's the old one, but I think that's the one that you go after. Like, there's a certain
Mm.
people who just haven't got it. Like they in terms of like they didn't care that much. Some people just don't like nerdy shit.
Yep.
And people who are like that, like they're just confused, and it is confusing if you're looking at it from the outside in. Like, well, George Lucas started the story in the middle, but he didn't. No one knew that at the time except for him.
Mhm.
And so now that once those movies made enough, he was able to do the intro to that, and then he sold it, and then someone else made the new parts. There's also these TV shows and comics that fill in, but not the old ones. Those ones don't count. This is what I'm like. This is what it's hard. It's confusing. It's stupid.
Yeah.
It's stupid. Star Wars sucks, and I love it. Like,
Yeah. I had a well, okay. I was talking to a mate of mine at work, and like we'd talk every now and then, but we hadn't actually worked together. Like he was over in the mechanical side, and I'm out, in the field putting up the panels and that. And we'd have crossovers like, hey man, I need a torque wrench, or I need this, or I need that. You know, what I mean, that's sort of the only interactions we'd have, or cup of coffee in the morning. I had no idea he was a Star Wars dude until the last day out there before the Christmas break, and we were driving around and we just started talking about movies. And I turned around and I was like, so Star Wars, and I see his face light up. He's like, yeah, and we just fucking geeked out about like because we hadn't seen Rise yet, so we're just talking like, what about this bit? What about what do you think's going to happen here? And we talk about the severed hand being Rey and all that. But he told me a story about his nephew. Uh,
Mhm.
Never watched the movies, but got right into the Clone Wars.
The
So
show?
yeah,
Interesting. So, oh, wait, their first introduction to Star Wars is the show.
yeah, exactly. For this
That
little
must be
kid, yeah,
interesting.
for this little kid, it's only the Clone Wars TV show. He
Oh
has
man, this person's gonna love Star Wars.
Yeah, so me mate at work said, all right, he was babysitting. He's like, what do you want to watch, mate? He's like, Star Wars. He's like, but you've seen all the TV shows. He's like, no, put one of the movies on. So they put on A New Hope, and like he's like, ooh, who's this Darth Vader guy? He's
That's hilarious.
scary. Anyway,
Yeah.
and then like they explain, Anakin Skywalker died, and the kid's getting a little sad. Then they put on Empire, and then they
Yeah.
get to the I am your father part. And
Yes.
apparently, my mate wasn't even watching the movie anymore. He was just staring at
Yeah.
his nephew, like just
Yeah.
waiting
Yeah.
for that reaction. And then the kid's like stops, turns to me mate, and he's just like, "But Anakin is Luke's father." And he's
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, mate." And confused, looks back at the
Yes.
screen. But that means Darth Vader
Yeah.
is Anakin Skywalker. And
Yes.
he's like, "Yeah, man." And he's like, he goes, the look of horror, and you know what I mean, like, because
Yeah, that's
it was
great.
his number one. That was his number one
Dude,
guy,
that's like
man.
that's like actual priceless to have seen.
Oh yeah, man.
That's
Like
amazing.
I would have loved to have been just a little fly on the wall. You know what I mean? Just to
Yeah.
sort of see that kid's reaction. But the way me mate explained it is just like it was incredible. He was able to get the experience of Star Wars without being
Yeah.
spoiled of who Darth Vader really is and all that sort of stuff. And I'm like, because I've been constantly like, because people who don't watch Star Wars like, what order to watch it in? And I'm trying to tell them without like, how do you include the prequels without spoiling the twist that Luke is, Anakin's son and Anakin becomes Darth Vader, So
Yeah.
I've come up with like a lot of metrics, like, what do you watch? 1, 2, 4, 5, 3,
No.
then 6. You know what
No.
I mean?
No.
Like,
You just
yeah.
watch how you want. Like you would start. It depends on what they like. If
Mm,
like just say the prequels aren't good, but they come chronologically first. Watch the original ones, which are better, but just know that you're in the middle of the story, and so
yeah.
you might be a little bit confused because there's more to this.
Yeah, yeah. See, that's how I write my comics, man. Like, I always wanted each book to be its own thing. And the
Yeah.
first 2 books are about 2 separate characters. They're all set in the same world. And the third book is they come together. And
Mm.
then I did 3 other books about a bunch of other characters who set up a bunch of characters in the second book. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So you've got it in my comic. I know I'm getting off a tangent, but I'll just quickly explain. You've got a bunch of characters called the Lost Souls who are motorcycle monsters, and they're bounty
Okay.
hunters in a sense, and they on motorbikes, and they go around killing other monsters and stuff. The prequel books are all about how the original team formed, and in the
Okay.
second book, it's all about how the guy who's now in charge of the Lost Souls became in charge, and in a sense killed off the other older members of that group. To sort of become impact. And I sort of based the guy on Vegeta from Dragon Ball. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like,
Fair.
he's like, he was, supposed to be a prince like centuries ago, got frozen in, say, carbonite, whatever, and wakes up centuries later to find out his kingdom's no longer exists, and the only remnants of the kingdom is this group named the Lost Souls, who used to be the knights of that, his fucking thing. So it's like, well, I'm going to take the power of this then. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. See, I get off on tangents, dude. But
Fine.
buy my book. Comes out next year.
All right. I
Yeah.
definitely will. I will talk about it on my stuff
Oh,
on my
definitely,
stream.
man. Definitely. I don't know if I really want to release one book, then the next. I sort of want to make all three, and then slowly release them over a year. But I still have to figure out all the details and shit, man. So
Fair.
it's one of the reasons I work so fucking hard at solar farms, so I want to
Yeah,
get these
yeah. So you
fucking
could.
books done. I've been working on them since I was 18, actually
I get it.
15.
I'm just starting. Well, that's like 2 years ago, I guess. At this point, maybe like started making stuff too, like books, and
Mm,
I have a whole. No, I also have a project thing that will take me my entire life to make, and we'll
yeah,
see how long that comes out.
yeah, exactly,
So
exactly.
I get it.
I always get off on tirades when I'm writing other scripts and stuff like that. I'm like, that's an interesting character. Let's explore his backstory.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
just like, no, finish the fucking other book before you start writing backstories about these other characters. But
Yeah,
anyway,
that's funny.
back to Star Wars. All right.
Yes. Star Wars.
What are your? We'll go to final thoughts on Rise of Skywalker, and then we'll start talking about some Mandalorian because that's one of the really big things that I really
Oh
want to
god,
talk
I'm
about.
so hyped.
So, final thoughts of Rise of Skywalker, and maybe give it a, I don't know, 1 out of 10 Millennium Falcons.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Uh, it's good. It's not bad. It's
Mm,
the story itself isn't the worst thing. It's real fun.
yep.
I they implemented a lot of the stuff poorly, mostly because it's trying to fix the problems of the last movie.
Hmm.
It's probably the only movie I will want. In all the Star Wars movies, there are some movies that I'll watch just randomly. Like I'll watch Empire whenever.
Yep.
I almost never watch Episode 6 whenever. Uh,
I'm like
I
that with
will.
Episode 2.
Yeah, exactly. I'll never watch. I'll never just randomly put on Episode 2.
Mm,
I'll put on Episode 3 sometimes.
yep.
I've in the past put on Episode 1, but barely.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
I will most likely never put on 7 or 8
Mm,
randomly, but I will put on Episode 9 a lot because that movie is fun and I will enjoy. Star Wars should be fun,
yep.
and Episode 9 is very fun. It's a mess.
Hmm.
But it's fun.
Yep.
Kylo Ren is the most important and coolest character in this trilogy, and it's a shame that he died so quickly because
Mm,
I want to see more of him because he's the only redeeming part of these movies. And that's a quick. I'll give it a 6.
6.
Uh,
All right.
I'll give it 6 out of 10. Other movie. I guess the context of my other ratings. Empire is only an 8, and that's my
Mm,
favorite Star Wars movie. So
yeah.
that's my. That's why like it's a good movie. It's not the best, not the worst.
Mm. I'd have to say, what I really took away from this movie again is the relationship between Rey and Kylo. It's one of the most, to me, the
So
most through. It's the only story that runs through the entire thing that actually grows and actually means anything. Like
yes,
Poe and Poe should have learned his lets in Episode 8, but anyway, he doesn't. He's still an arrogant asshole in 9. You know, thinks he.
but he's arrogant, but he's not. I think he did learn a lesson because he's. I don't know. I think I need to watch those two movies again to see the connection between the two characters from
Yeah.
like Poe Episode 8 and Poe Episode 9.
Yeah.
I haven't paid that attention to that connection. I really like Poe in Episode 9.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know if it's. I don't know if I agree with you on this. But anyway,
Yeah.
keep going. This was your part. Never mind.
Yeah, well, no, that's fine, man. That's fine. One of my favorite moments, aside from what happens with Ray and Ben, is the moment where Chewbacca realizes that the princess has died.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. That part.
that moment, like I'm sitting there watching, and it's like I have to say, like I went and saw it before. I went and saw it with my sister, and because I watched what was it like Episode 8 without her, she sort of cracked the shits at me. And when Solo came out, I was like, "Oh, we'll just go watch Solo. That comes out in 6 months." So I didn't want to have to tell her, "Oh, by the way, I've actually snuck out and saw it without you again." So
Yeah.
I've pretty much lied to her. So hopefully she doesn't watch this
Hilarious.
podcast. You know, but I doubt she will. But yeah, so
Hi.
second time viewing, I went and saw it with my sister, and that moment with Chewbacca really like teared me up the first time around, and the second time around, like I'm sitting there and like I literally like, you know, and I'm like fucking got me again, like you know, like just that whole
I will.
yeah.
Another interjection.
No, you're right, man.
The scene that got me both times I saw the movie
Mm.
was when Luke pulls the X-wing with the Force out of the water.
Yeah,
Because I was like with the music playing, I was like, there's the complete sort. Like
Yeah.
there's because that was Yoda did that in Episode 5, and so like seeing Luke finally be able to do that, like kind of casually too, just like yeah, I can do this now. I'm good. I
yeah.
was like, oh, God,
A
he
friend of
finally
mine
did it.
told me that was his conclusion to the saga. He's like,
Yeah,
he goes, I
same. That
really
was
don't
for
care
me.
about Palpatine dying at this point or what happens with Rey and Ben and
Yeah.
because he doesn't care about those characters. He goes, I could have got up and walked out of the theater and been happy because there's my
Same.
conclusion.
I will not same completely, but I know what you mean on that. It's that's when the cycle is complete,
Yeah.
is with that scene.
I also, honestly, like, I love C-3PO. First time I found him annoying when I first watched Rise of Skywalker. Second time I'm like,
Really.
I kind of felt he's a bit annoying. But then the second time around, I was like, okay, like, I get it, He's the same character he's always been, that idiot, in the background, almost the doopy butler.
I've
Um,
always liked
yeah,
C-3PO.
I
I thought he was great in this movie.
I wanted him to die, though. Like, you know what I mean?
Oh,
I
yeah,
wanted him
me
to
too,
make
kind of.
that sacrifice,
Me too, kind of.
And they sort of retconned it. It's like, oh, here's an extra backup memory. I wanted to say, like, no, that's it. He's short-circuited. We're going to have to leave him
Starts
behind.
over, yeah.
You know
Or
what I mean?
even if he just had to start over and like he actually lost memory, that would have been
Yeah,
neat.
man, I just thought that it's a great sacrifice. You know what I mean? For a character that's been around since the very beginning, to sort of give them that
The
last
first
little.
characters we see in Star Wars was C-3PO and R2.
Exactly, and it sort of made me sort of retcon what happened in Force Awakens. Instead of BB-8, I think that should have been. Like I always say, it should have been R2. But now I rethink about it, it should have been C-3PO.
Yeah.
R2 has half the plans of where he is, and
Mm-hmm.
C-3PO has the other half plans. And when you reunite those two characters, who again, as you said, are the first two characters you meet in this saga, then suddenly the plan is revealed and there's Luke. So it's not until
Yeah.
these two characters come back together
I mean, neat.
So I don't know, like, I'm just not a big fan of BB-8. I just, I don't know, fucker.
I like BB-8 actually.
Yeah.
I've come around. I've come around after watching this. After the trilogy is over, I'm just like, you know what? I accept BB-8 as a character, as a droid
Yeah.
in this. I was like, you know what? Dio.
He replaces
Sorry,
R2,
I feel like I keep interrupting you, but I'm sorry.
All right.
Dio is great.
Yes.
Dio is. I love Dio a lot.
J.J. Abrams did that.
J.J. Abrams voiced Dio.
Yeah,
Yeah. It was. Yeah. It's so good.
Yeah. I just think that what pisses me off is, like, I don't get enough R2. I just want more R2-D2. You know what I mean?
It's fine.
Or even if they
I get it.
restored C-3PO's memory. Imagine they restored everything. Because remember, he got that memory.
Oh, his
wiped.
old. Yeah. This is what. Yeah,
Like,
having his memory wiped twice was hilarious. But
Yeah.
like,
But
yeah,
have
having
it
his.
all
It'd be cool to have.
installed. You know what I mean? And then
Yeah,
he has
all
a
the
line
old
like,
stuff.
"Fucking Vader created me," like, just
Yeah.
like some little
That'd be great.
line like that. That I would have been happy with that, but I just
Would've-
felt like, oh, we don't really want to piss anybody off, and so we'll just keep it like this. I was like, okay, whatever. But I have to say, my final thoughts are, it's one of, again, my top four probably won't change as my top four, but this easily comes up at number 5. You know what I mean? Like,
Fair.
I enjoyed the hell out of it. And I know it's a good movie when you're watching it and you're like, I want more of this. You know what I mean? The dynamic between, I said this at the start, the dynamic between the three main characters is so fucking rich and that it
Yes.
seems genuine. You know?
Yes.
I wanted more of that. Even though,
Same.
it seems like Poe's a little jealous of Rey, taking Finn's time all the time. And, what are you going to tell her? What are you going to tell her, huh? What? But just
We never know. We never found out.
Yeah,
They forgot.
exactly. Apparently that was a deleted scene. Like,
Yeah, we'll find that eventually.
Yeah, in a comic book or something like that. I think it was the fact that he was force sensitive.
I think so too,
Yeah.
actually.
I think that's, everyone's like, even my sister said, I think he wanted to tell her he loves her. I was like, no, I think he wanted to say he was all, force sensitive and shit. And she's like, oh, I wanted him to hook. Yeah, she sort of got a little disappointed. She's like, oh, yeah, no, you're probably right. Yeah, so my final thoughts are, it's a really good movie. It's a good conclusion to this trilogy. It's got a nice little couple of throwbacks. But the end of the saga is where Luke lifts that thing out of the water. After that, there's your conclusion to the original saga. Luke's finally become, even though he's a Force ghost and all that sort of stuff, yeah, and again, the Easter eggs for stuff like the Clone Wars and Rebels were really, really nice. Like, I loved hearing Ahsoka on the screen.
Yeah, I was like, finally, no matter what happens, Ahsoka is canon. Because they could easily one day say, oh, no, the Clone Wars isn't canon.
Yeah,
But forever,
She's
canon. Her voice is in the thing. So is
Exactly.
Kanan and Luminara.
Exactly. So, Yeah, man. To me, I'd have to give it probably you would a 6. I'd probably have to
I
go.
said 6.
Yeah, I'd probably have to go 7, man. I really enjoyed it, and that was both times around. Yes, there are things I probably would change, but again, that's just fanfic, man. That's just me going, oh, we
Yeah,
just need to
exactly.
alter this and alter that. You know, the movies are what they are. You know, and until the days that they give me fucking the keys to the kingdom and let me make my own Star Wars movie, then I can't really say shit. And even then,
Yes.
that movie will come out and people will be making podcasts like this and going, oh, that Boba Fett
It,
movie, fuck,
yeah.
here's
Yeah, yeah.
top 10
That'll be
things
me.
that
I'll be
shit.
the one hating on your Boba Fett movie.
Yeah,
The
it's like,
Star Wars.
I had that motherfucker in a stormtrooper outfit on set, and he's still giving me shit.
Funny.
Yeah,
That's hilarious. Yeah, I think it's impossible to make a like Star Wars movie that everyone enjoys. I think
yeah.
I Star Wars was made on accident. It shouldn't exist. Star Wars
Mm,
that's why I barely praise George Lucas. He did it on accident. I'm glad it exists.
mm,
It's great. It's the second biggest IP in the world.
yeah.
But it didn't mean it shouldn't exist. It's an anomaly that Star Wars even is around.
Mm.
And so
Did you
I'm happy
notice?
we are getting more
Did you notice
other
the
stuff
little
like Mandalorian.
Avengers Easter egg?
No.
Hey, that out of Endgame. It's the part where they're
What?
all losing and stuff like that, and you know,
Oh, I don't know.
he comes on the radio, and then everyone shows up. I was half expecting them to say "on your left." You know
That
what
would
I
have.
mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
If that's a. Yeah, that.
But I'm
I don't know
like,
if that's necessarily a reference or anything. I think that's just.
I think they ripped that
But
off. I,
that's a funny.
yeah,
If they'd said on your left, that would have been great. That
yeah,
would have been like, haha, we're Disney,
yeah, exactly, exactly. You know,
the
having
Disney
100 movies where they're just
cinematic
like
universe.
on the left. Yeah, we get it. Like next Beauty and the Beast movie, we're on your left. Yeah, all right, mate, we get it. Fuck off. So
Yes.
that's my conclusion. I'm trying to think if there's anything else in the saga that I wanted to see.
There's quick final thing on my end. The
Mm,
music in this trilogy,
hmm
not the best.
No.
Kylo's theme is great. Rey's theme is really good, and like there's like a through line melody that exists throughout all movies. That I don't know if it's a character theme or just this trilogy's theme.
Yeah.
That's very good. There's like three themes that John Williams did that I think are great.
hmm
One thing that I'm very disappointed in because in one of the last trailers they did, they had a mix of Imperial March with Duel of Fates,
Yep.
it was the coolest sounding
Yep.
thing ever, and I
Yep.
wish it was in this movie because I was like, you have the two most iconic songs, like at least the coolest,
Mm.
darkest songs in Star Wars, and you didn't put it in the movie. You should have because you did it in the trailer.
Yeah.
It was
I
so
did. I
good.
did see the John Williams cameo, which like I'm sitting in the
Oh yeah,
theater.
John Williams cameo was great. This
Yeah.
first ever cameo in Star
I
Wars.
remember sitting there thinking, ah, like that, and my sister sitting there.
Yep.
I didn't even notice on first viewing. It wasn't until the second time I was just like, oh my god, and Dee's like, what? It's John Williams. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Who's that?
Oh no.
Shut up. But, you know.
I know that. By the way, this was his. He said that this is his last Star Wars movie. He's
Yeah.
going to be doing music for. So
Yeah.
no,
Well,
because we are going to get more Star Wars
until
stuff.
a
But
little
he's
bit, I reckon.
no. I think he's done. He doesn't need it. It's
Yeah.
John Williams. He's the most important composer of all time. Like there's
Yeah.
no.
I actually found out
Yeah,
the other
he's
day
fine.
he did the Home Alone thing, and so many of the great theme songs he's actually done. Didn't he do Back to the Future too?
I think so.
Yeah, like just some of those iconic, like you know, Jurassic Park, you know, yeah, Back to the Future, Star Wars, of course, you know.
As someone who's I
Yeah.
am a musicist myself,
Mhm.
John Williams is legitimately will be considered, I think, among the greatest composers of all times. Like a Mozart, Beethoven, John Williams. He's on that
Yeah.
list.
Does he have a CD you can buy of his almost like a greatest hits type of thing? Like, is there like an album you can buy?
I'm sure there is. I don't. I just go on
If
go on
there's not,
Spotify and make a playlist of all of the music that he's done.
yeah, I
I'm
need
sure
to do
music.
that.
I'm pretty sure all movie soundtrack is on Spotify. So just
I've
do
been
that.
needing to sign up for Spotify because at work, like we've got the Bluetooth speaker on and stuff like that, and it's constantly playing rap music and crap like that. Like, you know,
I don't know. I like rap.
I'm not a big rap guy. Like, you know what I mean? I like some certain things. Like I like Dre, I like Eminem, but like 2 to 4 days in a row of the same music. I'm like,
Fair.
no. Some AC/DC. Mix it up a little bit, man. I don't give a fuck. It's country and
Complete.
western music in there.
Now we're on a complete tangent, but this is on my. I have 1,000 playlists on my Spotify.
Yep.
I have because I listen to such a wide variety of music. You see, I have Frank Zappa records there, but I listen, from Frank Zappa to Metallica.
Yeah.
King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard is one of my favorite bands right now. Coheed and Cambria, I love too. But to like rap stuff, I like Drake. I like
Yeah.
XXXTentacion a lot. I like everything.
Yeah.
And so I have like 1,000 playlists. Like, here's my rap playlist. Here's my metal playlist. Here's my indie hipster garbage playlist. Here's whatever playlist. Like, I have Beatles to everything.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I need to really, sign up for Spotify. Like, I've been meaning to do it for like months, and I just never really got around to it. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Again, yeah, I really like the movie, and yeah, although there are things I can change, I would change, but I'm not JJ, so they're not going to let me do it anytime soon. But yeah, man, like I really like the movie, and it was a good conclusion to this trilogy. Maybe not the best for the entire saga.
I agree. I pretty much agree with. I think you and I are pretty much on the same page with this movie.
Yeah.
I think I rank all Star Wars movies probably less than you do.
Yeah.
Not because I don't like Star Wars as much as you do, just as movies, they're fine.
Yeah.
I don't know. But regardless, I think we're pretty much on the same page on this movie. Let's talk about fucking Mandalorian.
Let's get into it, man. Like, I was intending to binge watch this, so I was like, I'm gonna wait till the 27th. Then the moment it came out, I was just like, oh, fuck it, man. Like, I'll just watch the first episode and see how we go.
Yeah.
And that moment at the very end with fucking Baby Yoda, I'm like, all right, you had my, what's that quote from Inglorious Bastards? Something about you had my attention, you had me listening, now you have my attention, or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I felt it. The second I saw those ears pop up, I was like, "Is it fuck off? They're doing this." Oh
yeah,
yeah.
When I saw the first episode of Mandalorian, I was like, "This is great. I'm in love. I'm loving this so much. It looks amazing." And then they do the Baby Yoda thing, and I was like, "This is stupid. I hate this. This is the dumbest thing they could have done." I thought my original thought, because George Lucas specifically made sure no one knew anything about Yoda's race. Everything, because anything Star Wars that's canon, he made sure no one ever wrote anything about Yoda until Dave Filoni comes along. First of all, Dave Filoni, the creator of Clone Wars and Rebels, delete Kathleen Kennedy, put on Dave Filoni as like head of Star Wars, and have Jon Favreau just make it. Him and Jon Favreau should just make all of Star Wars from now on, because everyone else sucks.
That's what they're going to be giving Favreau.
I hope so, dude. I hope so.
Dave Filoni's even said, he's like, I'm happy in my little corner. You know what I mean? I get to make the shows that I want to get. There's very little overhead.
I think Dave Filoni likes being kind of under the radar, because he can inject little things that like me and you will appreciate, like the Darksaber and shit.
Yeah.
But like most people are like, oh, okay, that's cool, that's fun. Like you go over there, play with your TV shows. We're gonna over here make billions of dollars on movies.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I first saw the Baby Yoda thing, and I was like, this is stupid. They didn't need to do this. And then after seeing it, the second episode and like the third, like after seeing him a little bit, I was like, I get it. Because what got me, I think, with the second episode was when they did the Mudhorn.
Yeah.
Was that the second or third episode? Okay, then the third episode is when they go. Yeah, it has to be episode 3 then. Yeah. I can't think of the character's name, but Werner Herzog's character, he has the dude with him. If you look on his jacket, he has the symbol of the Camino.
Yeah.
The Camino's cloning symbol. And so that looks like they were setting up this whole cloning. I'm sure that in season 2 they'll finish that arc. But the idea that, like, I think what they were trying to do was introduce, like, they try to make like a clone army of Force users, and they're going to use this creature, this Baby Yoda situation for that.
That's what they were setting up for.
That's when I was like, this is cool.
You know what I mean? Like the whole Palpatine coming back. Mandalorian with cloning.
This is why I think they originally were going to have Rey as a clone.
Yeah.
Just because there's so much cloning stuff that's around right now that I think that last minute they're like, nope, let's make it her parents. There's an actual. She fucked some.
Oh, that's one thing I didn't get into. Who the fuck would fuck that guy?
Okay, here's the thing that came out. So remember a couple years ago, there was a whole script that was written for like 4 seasons of a Star Wars show.
Star Wars Underground.
Yes. That was going they was going to deal with a love interest of Palpatine that ends up breaking his heart.
I remember
And so
something
I have a
about this.
feeling, J.J. Abrams took some of that idea and was like, "Fine, if you don't want to do clones, then we'll do this instead."
Okay.
And so I'm assuming we'll end up getting a book or a comic or something, maybe even in the because Clone Wars season 7 comes out in February.
Mhm.
Maybe even in there they mention something.
Right.
That's cool.
Yeah, I just like.
But that's I doubt we'll see it in that just
Mhm.
because that's been done for like 2 years. They're just sitting on it waiting to release.
Yeah, but they could
Um,
always just slip in an extra episode or a bit of a like
I don't know. It costs like $1 million to make each episode. They probably
yeah,
aren't
well,
going to just like we'll just quickly make this.
yeah, I suppose so. I suppose so. It's not as easy as
That's
just
why Clone Wars.
point and
That's why
shoot.
they had to cancel it so many times. Like this is way too expensive.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, I remember that TV show, the Star Wars Underground, how it's supposed to be set in the main city, isn't it? And it's all about
Coruscant. It was supposed to be
the
the crime syndicates on Coruscant and stuff.
Coruscant. Yeah, that's the city I was trying to think of. The planet, I should say.
Yeah,
Mm.
we're probably gonna get a lot of
Boba Fett.
Crimson Dawn.
Boba Fett.
No, we're probably
Yes.
gonna get like Crimson Dawn, like Darth Maul's
Yeah.
current criminal syndicate stuff,
I
and
think they're gonna use Darth Maul for Obi-Wan Kenobi.
oh, they have to,
You
they
know,
have to.
yeah. Because
The only thing
yeah, how far are you
we
into
get that
Rebels again?
I
Season
season 2, but I already know
Yeah.
the Obi-Wan show will take place before Rebels.
Yeah, yeah.
Just because Rebels takes place like so close to Episode 4, it's like 5 years before.
Mm-hmm. And this is
And
like
so
what 5
we
years
already
after Revenge, I think.
we don't know when the Obi-Wan show is going to take place. We just know it's somewhere between 3 and 4. But based on how old Ewan McGregor is, it has to only be like 10 years after Episode 3.
I'm
Like
pretty
it's
sure
not
I
gonna,
remember reading something like
or
it's
even less.
5 to 7 years.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
No more than 10 years after Episode 3. And because of that, if we do get a Darth Maul stuff, what it will probably do is take place after Solo.
Yeah.
After Solo, but before Rebels, so that way we can get the conclusion of Solo's arc, the whole thing with Emilia Clarke's character and the Crimson Dawn being led by the final criminal syndicate thing for Darth Maul.
I think Solo will show up in the other TV show they're doing with the Rogue One characters.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, I think they're going to save him for that, him and Chewie for that, and I think they're saving Maul for Obi-Wan. I don't know if it'll be season 1, but it'll definitely should be season 2.
I don't know if they'll do more than one season for that. I don't even need more than one season for that. I'd like more. I want it forever, but I don't need more than one season.
Well, if you base it like a trilogy, you know what I mean? 3 seasons, and then, you know, you sort of...
Yeah, but Star Wars... But they said
there's
specifically
a lot of things
done
to cover,
with the trilogy format, so...
There's a lot of stuff to cover. Like, you need...
No, there isn't, dude.
Liam Neeson. You know, you need Liam Neeson on there.
I don't care. No, you know, the stuff between 3 and 4, there's so much stuff we have now. I'm done. I'm tired of that gap. I want to see what happens between 6 and 7 at this point.
Yeah.
This is why I'm so excited about The Mandalorian, because finally we get to see stuff, a gap that we know nothing about. We know everything about what happened between 3 and 4. We have Star Wars Rebels. We have we have Battlefront 2 happens between 3 and 4. We have Fallen Order happens between 3 and 4. We have Rogue One, Solo. Like we're gonna have the Obi-Wan show. We have so much stuff between episode 3 and 4. I'm done. I want another time. I want between 6 and 7. I want pre-episode 1. I want Old Republic. I want to see the Mandalorian War. I want way far into the future. That's what I want. Like I want like sure the same timeline, but on a whole other part of the galaxy where we'd see nothing. Where like it's barely even affected by this stuff.
Well, I don't think at this point they never made it clear. Did Obi-Wan know that Anakin didn't die on that planet?
Yes. He knew that Obi-Wan knew that Darth Vader was Anakin.
Yeah, but how? Like
the Force.
The Force. I love that reason. Like every time
true, though.
People ask questions about like Star Wars, and they're like the Force.
Dude, it's dumb space magic. You can't think about the parts.
I always thought after watching the prequels and that, there's a scene. I know they did this because they didn't really have the proper written out or anything like that. But Darth Vader's like, he's on in episode 4. He's like, I sense a presence, something I haven't sensed since. And then he stops and walks off.
Yes, he knew that was Obi-Wan.
Well, hey, yeah, but who's to say that Mustafar was the last time they saw each other?
I mean, you're right.
Like
it would be really neat to see if they were to meet up again.
Yeah, and like actually have like a proper.
Well, no, actually, I disagree. When they go and finally meet, they say the last time we met, I what is it? I was but the student, but now I am the master. Like that.
Yeah, well, he could be.
Last time they were,
He could
he
have been the
specifically says last time,
yeah, but he could have been the student of Darth Sidious.
but he's still the student of Star Sidious.
Yeah, but
In that,
he's not really the master yet, is he?
I
That sort
guess,
of contradicts.
but that would, no. The issue is that then that would make Darth Vader's whole reasoning for things to be similar to Kylo Ren's, which is not. Kylo Ren, whole thing was I want to overthrow the Masters. Darth Vader never really cared about overthrowing Sidious.
Well, he did. Maybe
in episode 3,
Mm.
but he didn't want to he didn't want to overthrow Sidious. And after episode 5,
Another thing, you like to go back to the. Well, yeah, he did. He made the offer to Luke in episode 5. You know,
did he?
Together we can destroy the Emperor, and rule the galaxy as father and son.
Father and son. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Well,
So,
I get. You know what? Then maybe they could do that.
And then in the Vader comic, they constantly talk about that.
I haven't read the Vader comics yet.
Oh,
I need to.
Yeah, check it out, man. It's not too.
I read the.
There are certain things.
I read the Son of Dathomir.
Like, yeah, I haven't read that one.
I read the Darth Maul one because I needed to. As soon as I finished season 4 of Clone Wars, and Darth Maul gets captured by Sidious, and I looked up when do we see him next, and they said we don't. You have to read the comics to figure out what happens next. I was like, I didn't read the comics then, so I got the comics right then, and that.
See, my idea is okay,
we got to talk about Mandalorian at some point.
I just want to get this for Obi-Wan out.
Yeah.
There's that part where he's guilt-ridden about what happened at the end of the war, and I think even more so Obi-Wan. Yeah, I think he's PTSD. I think that's how they've sort of explained it, like in interviews with Dave Filoni and stuff like that. The brief little things that he's talked about. I honestly believe he thinks he's killed Anakin, because there's no reason to think that he hadn't. You know what I mean?
At that point,
because he Darth, he's locked on a desert planet. He doesn't have the internet. I didn't see no computer. I think he's.
I don't
cut
think
off
so.
from the rest of the world.
I think there was a connection between Obi-Wan and Anakin that I think the reason why Obi-Wan didn't finish him off is because he knew I can't kill you.
Yeah.
I can stop you, but I cannot kill you.
Yeah.
And I think he left knowing that he's going to live.
Yeah. I don't know.
Because I don't see Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan didn't do that. Didn't fight Anakin to try to kill him. That was not his goal.
I just don't think that he maybe he's heard about Vader, but he probably doesn't know that Anakin is Vader. He probably thinks that he died of his wounds on the planet. This is just my little fan fiction type of thing.
I will say, I think if we see Darth Vader in the Obi-Wan show, that would be cool. I think I'd be okay with. I think that'd be neat.
But he'd have to go off planet. That's the only thing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Vader
I don't want.
Dude,
that Obi-Wan show better not deal. I want him to start in Tatooine and then oh wait, hold on, I have to do this adventure for a second, and then we just never see Tatooine. I'm so done with the sand. I hate sand. It's coarse and rough. I'm so tired of dirt in every Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
Even in Rise of Skywalker, where there was a stupid space birding man, I was just why does this have to be on a desert planet? Also.
Yeah. But I think. I think it has to do with his guilt. Of what happened with Vader. I think the first season might deal with Darth Maul, and his defeat of maybe Obi-Wan comes out of retirement to fucking take out Maul, or even take down the Crimson Dawn.
That would be cool.
And then
because well, what would be neat is if what's her name? What's Emilia Clarke's character's name in Solo?
I can't remember.
Look it up.
Oh, shit.
I'm gonna look it up. Solo Emilia Clarke. It is cool. It doesn't. I just wanted Google to just tell me the name right then and there, and it didn't. Jesus Christ! I'm trying to find Kira.
Kira, okay.
With a Q.
Yeah.
QI apostrophe RA.
Kira. That's weird.
It's
Yeah, okay.
Anyways, Kira's. What would be cool is if Kira ends up. I just kicked my camera. It'd be cool if Kira ends up defecting from Crimson Dawn and teams up with Obi-Wan to try to defeat Darth Maul.
Yeah. See, that would be
cool.
maybe she's going to be the Leia. You know, somehow she
Yeah.
finds out about Obi-Wan and sort of like pulls him into the fray. You
Yeah,
know?
maybe like he's
And
talking to Darth Maul, and and Darth Maul mentions Obi-Wan, and is like, well, maybe I have to go find Obi-Wan, and she
yeah,
finds Obi-Wan, and that can be the season. That'd be cool.
I want the old school
If
gunslinger
that
thing
Obi-Wan show
though.
doesn't deal with that, I'd be surprised.
Hey,
Sorry, what?
no, the old like I used to watch westerns with the old man all the time, and there's always this theme about the retired gunslinger, and he's got that
Yes.
chest pushed under his bed. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
you know, no, I can't touch that. And then when shit hits the fan, he grabs it out, pulls it out, opens up, puts the old hat on, the belt, the gun. I sort of want a
That's
moment
cool.
like that in Obi-Wan. You know,
Well,
like
considering Mandalorian is a straight up Western, that would make sense.
Yeah.
If they're just gonna do all these shows as Westerns,
yeah,
which I'm okay with.
Yeah.
Space Westerns would be cool.
So yeah, that's sort of my theory about Obi-Wan. I just a few hopes and things that I want for it, but Mandalorian, fuck. Again, like we're getting off on like fan fiction, I think a little bit there, but doesn't matter.
So
More messages.
I don't care about anything. Let me phrase this. Mandalorian is great.
Mm-hmm.
The number one thing I care about at this point is season 2 Darksaber shit.
Mm-hmm.
Because the last time we know about the Darksaber is Bo-Katan
Yep.
has it in Rebels, and she unites all the Mandalorians together finally with the Darksaber. And then we know about the Great Purge, where they killed off all the Mandalorians.
Where
and
is
it
that?
seems like
When's that? When did that happen?
the Great Purge, sometime in between, sometime in between episode. I don't. It has to be sometime during like episode 4 and 6. Like it just happens somewhere in the original trilogy.
Yeah. Okay.
It was done by Moff Gideon, because pretty much Moff Gideon's character or Moff Gideon just pretty much says like, yeah, the Great Purge, I did that, and so it's assumed that he's the one that killed Bo-Katan and then took the Darksaber for himself. Here's a fun fact: Jon Favreau plays a character in The Mandalorian. I have this written down somewhere. I was talking to someone about this. Remember that scene where Jin is fighting that Mandalorian in like episode 3, I think, when he's getting his armor, and that dude, they just did a little sparring in So that character is, let's see if I can find. His name is, trying to find it. I have it here somewhere. Paz Vizsla.
Okay.
That name should be important because the first and only Mandalorian Jedi was named Tar Vizsla. He's the one that made the Darksaber. His clan, the descendants of his clan, ends up getting the Darksaber get passed down, because eventually the Darksaber stays. Once Tar Vizsla dies, the Darksaber stays in the Jedi Temple until another member of the Vizsla clan comes and steals it, and then the Darksaber gets passed down by the Vizsla clan until in Clone Wars it ends up owned by Pre Vizsla, the guy that Darth Maul kills, and then takes the Darksaber and then controls all the Mandalorians from there. So the Vizsla clan is the original clan that owned the Darksaber, and so they kind of own the Darksaber by birthright. Jon Favreau's character was named Paz Vizsla. He's a descendant of the Vizsla clan, and so the armorer says like, oh, not everyone died, some people escaped. Now we do see Paz Vizsla's helmet. We do see Jon Favreau in that pile of helmets. His helmet's still there, but I think he's still alive. And maybe not in season 2, but maybe in another season, we'll see him try to like say like, oh, that Darksaber is mine. I own it by birthright. And then that'd be a cool, cool fight there. I think because he actually kind of does by birthright have it, because it was passed down by the Vizsla clan.
Well, just like in Rebels, how they've got the Darksaber in that for a few episodes. Like, spoilers, that comes up a bit later on. They start training in old Mandalorian weapons that go back to the Jedi Mandalorian War. So I'd like to see in season 2 the Mandalorian start using extra weapons. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
something other than flamethrower.
Old school. Yeah. Use that damn thing every fucking episode.
Every single episode.
Yeah,
that was funny. I was hoping for I was hoping in the last episode like it would break and you'd be like, oh no, that's my favorite.
Yeah,
I wanted him to mention that it was.
Yeah, every episode, man, like and every time it came up, I'd be watching it with someone. I'm like, there it is again. Like, sort of relying on that damn thing. But I'd like to, sort of see him train with the old school weapons that used to defeat Jedi. Considering now he's going up against a guy that uses a lightsaber, even though it's a dark saber.
I mean, it's still well. The dark saber is just a lightsaber with a that looks cool.
Yeah.
It's nothing special about it other than it changes intensity
Hmm.
by the owner's like mood. Like
Yeah.
if you're more intense, then it sparks more. But it doesn't do anything in terms of
Yeah,
like
I understand
actual.
all that, but what I'm saying is like,
But the Mandalorian Din Djarin has anti lightsaber armor. It's
okay, that yeah, that the metal.
what's it called?
Um, oh shit.
I can't think of the metal's name. Yeah,
Yeah.
whatever. That metal can resist lightsabers. So
Okay. Oh, well, that's all right. Yeah.
the reason why Mandalorians had it is because during the Mandalorian War they were like, well, we have to have some sort of armor to protect ourselves from lightsabers.
Mm.
Didn't work, but you know,
I, even
because I'm sure I don't
yeah.
know how much of the Mandalorian lore you know. I sound like you know enough, but in
Yeah.
case some people don't know, uh, Mandalorians were kind of the biggest like think of Mandalorians like Jews. It's a race and a religion.
Mhm.
It's not a. This is why you don't have to be born into a Mandalorian to become.
A Mandalorian.
You don't have to be born as a Mandalorian to become a Mandalorian.
Yep.
But the Mandalorians back like thousands of years ago controlled like thousands of star systems.
Hmm.
But then the Jedi, there's a war between the Jedi and the Mandalorians that had called the Mandalorian War, and they were pretty much reduced down to one system,
Hmm.
the system of Mandalore.
Did you ever play Knights of the Old Republic?
I did.
Yeah, I only recently got into that, and the game. Oh, halfway through the second one, and the game just started glitching out, and I can't get past
Oh
a
no,
certain level. Yeah, it's pretty much
so much better. But
yeah. Oh, I don't know because the damn thing won't fucking work for me.
yeah,
But yeah,
it's hard to play those kind of games.
hey,
Whatever, doesn't matter.
yeah, I just love
Doesn't
the
matter.
idea about like yeah, that whole era. I'm just absolutely loving. But anyway,
That's why I real quick. They are signed on to do a Old Republic movie.
I'm looking forward to that. I think that might be the Kevin Feige one. That's the one I'm looking forward
Uh,
to.
maybe I know that there is one. Well, originally before they said that they aren't going to do trilogies, these were all trilogy ideas.
Hmm.
They were going to give one to Ryan Johnson.
Yeah.
They were going to give one to him, and then they're also going to give one to Dan and Dave,
Hmm.
the showrunners of Game of Thrones.
Yep.
That's no longer a thing. At least they're not on it. I don't know who's gonna. They haven't said that they
Well, they
canceled.
didn't even do the out. They didn't even get around to doing the outline, so I don't think that's going to happen anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. Unless if there is like a brief idea that they're just gonna like, okay, now you go off with this, and then on top of that, there was an Old Republic thing. So
Mm.
there were two other trilogies that were slated before the Old Republic thing.
Mhm.
So we probably won't see any Old Republic movie or show or whatever for another like 10 years
Yeah,
or more.
still think that the Old Republic should be the next saga films. You know what I mean?
Oh, I
Like you
agree.
got the Skywalker saga, do the Knights of the Old Republic saga, let that go for
Very
9
much agree.
films, and then do I don't know the Poe Dameron saga. I don't know, like just
No,
do
I
something
think
else
you
after.
get like, I mean, I don't mind trilogies,
Mhm.
even though Star Wars said they don't want to do them anymore. But I don't mind just a trilogy for Old Republic, and then a trilogy for what happens after 7,
Mhm.
or maybe what I want now at this point is just shows for a while. I want
Yep.
like the next like 5 years to just be shows,
Well, they did
and
announce
then we can.
like a bunch of Star Wars stuff after 2020, like
Yeah, well, we're
and
getting.
it's like one a year, one project a year. And it didn't
Um,
specify if it was a Disney Plus show or a fucking movie, though. Which makes you think,
yeah.
nah, dudes, don't do what you did with Solo and Last Jedi. Too quick. You know,
Yeah,
give,
way too quick.
give fans to sort of sit back, breathe, enjoy the shows if they want to watch the shows.
Yeah, release
But
comics in between for
yeah,
the fans who want to like
who want
get more
more.
Star Wars.
But they treated it like Marvel, and it's just like this is not Marvel, boys. This is Star Wars. You can't
Yeah.
fucking treat it the same way. Um, Getting back to Mandalorian, I really did love the filler episodes that they had. And the filler
Same.
episodes
Bill Burr.
being the...
Bill Burr was great. I want to see Bill Burr in season 2.
Which one was that one? Boba?
Bill Burr. He was
Oh, Bill Burr.
Bill Burr. He was,
Oh, Bill Burr. Oh,
yeah.
fuck yeah.
Bill,
Yeah,
Bill Burr's
yeah,
character
yeah.
was fantastic. I want to see him in season 2.
Give him his own show. I'd fucking
Yeah,
watch the
that was
hell out of
great.
that, man.
Yeah, same.
They need to do what they do with the DC TV shows. Like, once you get
Yes.
a good character, just spin that fucker off. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Get him a new crew. Like, I wasn't a big fan of all those, but I did like the Red Devil guy. He was pretty
Yeah.
cool. So just him and Bill Burr.
That'd be
Forget
good.
the tweak woman and the other, and the robot.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of
Yep.
those two. But yeah, the Big Devil and Bill Burr, give them their own fucking show where they're just going around the galaxy, fucking robbing banks and trains and pretty much
That'd be
what
good.
everyone thought the Mandalorian was going to be before the Baby Yoda got set up. But I love those filler episodes. The Seven Samurai esque episode was really good.
Yep, that one was good.
Even though I was like, come on, I want more Baby Yoda stuff. Like, I was itching to get more information. But I was like,
I don't.
okay, it's a filler.
I don't think we'll get information until the next season, or maybe even after that. It depends on what season 2 is going to be.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think they're treating these TV shows like trilogies. You know what I mean?
I don't know. We have no idea.
Yeah, like this is the first act, season 1. Season 2 will
Yeah.
be the middle act, which will be the second movie. Then season 3 will be the conclusion.
Yeah.
I still think at the end of season 3, the Mandalorian is going to get frozen in carbonite and wakes up 50, 100 years later, and Baby Yoda's all grown up.
I do know that,
they
or
might be
I
doing
do
something
hope
like
that the reason I was bringing up also that theory about the talking about Paz Vizsla and all the Vizsla stuff, because they wouldn't name someone Paz, they wouldn't name someone Vizsla in a Mandalorian show without bringing and have a Darksaber at the same time, without bringing up the fact that Clan Vizsla has the birthright to the Darksaber. But what I want is Baby Yoda to be the next Mandalorian Jedi and have the Darksaber. I want to see future Yoda 500 years later as the next Mandalorian Jedi.
Yeah, fuck it. No, as you're talking about that, I just had the flash in my brain of the quasi Mandalorian Jedi armor, and then
Yes,
Baby
Tar
Yoda
Vizsla's
with
armor.
Yeah, man. Oh fuck yeah. And then give him his own fucking show once he's old enough and shit. That'd be fucking sweet. Yeah. Oh fuck yeah. Now I want to watch that show.
Yeah, man.
Fucking oath.
I want Mandalorian and Jedi stuff. This is why I think what would be really cool is have the final episode of whatever this would be to be all right, and now you are the next Mandalorian Jedi. That's the final episode, right? It ends right there, and then they announce, all right, the next trilogy of movies is Old Republic, the Mandalorian War.
Yeah.
And that way we get the trilogy of Mandalorian Wars. And then after that, we get, okay, so now you have the beginning of the Mandalorian War, Mandalorian Jedi stuff, Mandalorian versus Jedi. Now we have the final part where it's the next Mandalorian Jedi, thousands of years later.
They could do a sequel TV show to Baby
The future
Yoda.
of Star Wars is definitely Mandalorian. That I know.
Oh, well, yeah.
For sure. The next stuff we're going to see is Mandalorian stuff.
Yeah.
Because Dave Filoni loves it, and I love it, and people seem to enjoy it mostly because of Baby Yoda, but that's fine. I don't care why people like it. I just want it.
I think they might blend the two, as you just said, a bit of maybe the next lot of Jedi, Mandalorian / Jedi. You know what I mean? Maybe Baby Yoda teams up with Rey or something, like an older Rey. And they he's like the Mandalorian side, but he's also got the Jedi.
Well, it also makes that. Here's a fun thing too, but we didn't talk about Rise of Skywalker. Rey's lightsaber now is yellow. Yellow blades were the Temple Guardian, the Temple Guards, which are really the only connection. Well, not the only, but a very important connection to the old Republic stuff, the old Jedi way of things. It was the Temple Guards, and so to me that seems like a little hint of them wanting to go back. Is we're talking about Mandalorian stuff. They mentioned the Mandalorian War in the Mandalorian show. We have the Darksaber. We have Rey have a yellow lightsaber, which kind of invokes Old Republic stuff. I think they're hinting at wanting to do Old Republic things.
I think just like they did with the original trilogy, they're going to treat the Skywalker saga just like they did the first 3 films, and then go back. You know what I mean? Wait for the actors to get a little older and stuff like that, and then sort of come back and do a sequel saga, I guess, for lack of a better term. You know what I mean? That sort of explores the future. And I get what you mean, man. I want to sort of jump in the future too. I want to see what happens with Baby Yoda, and to help fill in that thing. But again, it's going to take 500 years before he's fully functional. Mandalorian's not going to be around that long. So that's why I get that idea of maybe he trains him to a certain point, and you have a few seasons of the show, and then he gets frozen.
I believe by the timeline-wise, at the end of Episode 9, he would be 6 or 7 years old in human years, which is just about when to start your Padawan training. Which is why I'm thinking we're going to get something about him once he's, however old that would be 6 or 7 human years, however old he actually is, to start training with Rey or stuff.
I had a
because he'd just be old enough to start that.
Yeah, I had an idea years ago about a Padawan that escaped Order 66 with a robot,
That's
right?
a Jedi Fallen Order.
Oh, is it? Oh,
Play that.
Oh, okay.
Same game.
Well, no, my idea was that it's almost like a Robinson Crusoe type of story where he's trapped on an island and he's being trained by a robot. You know what I mean?
Oh,
in,
no.
in the old
Yeah, yeah,
Jedi
yeah.
way type of thing. But yeah, I know it's a stupid idea that I had. Like, you know, I watch the movies and I'm like, oh, that would be a cool story. And so,
I don't know. I'm done with the gap between 3 and 4.
yeah.
It's filled out enough for me. Once the Obi-Wan show is done,
Mm,
I want anything else.
yeah.
Any other time. I want pre-1.
Mm,
I want like prime
yeah.
like Jedi stuff again.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like good.
Well, that'd actually be alright. But again, that's what I think they're doing with Knights of the Old Republic. I think they're just going to go back. And I think they're just going to call it Old Republic. I think Knights of the Old Republic might be a little long. You know, you could have
Yeah.
Knights of the Old Republic, the I don't know, Mandalorians of the Old Republic. You could like sort of replace that first letter and just have of the Old Republic. You know.
Well, you have the show just called The Mandalorian. Just call the show The Mandalorian War.
Yeah, that would work. But
it's kind of stupid, but you
mm.
know, people name things stupid. So.
Well, it's Star Wars.
I have to go soon, by the way, because I have my stream
Mm.
here in about 45 minutes,
shit,
so I got to start setting up for that.
No, you're right, man. You're right. Fucking hell.
So if you want to do some conclusions.
All right, listen, man. Okay, we'll do the same ranking that we did with Mandalorian. Like the entire show, I have to give it a. I was going to say 9, but maybe 8.5. You know what I mean? Like I just wanted more. So like I think the only problem with the show that I had is I just want more. My dog's yelling.
Someone's dying in the background.
Yeah, my dad's yelling at the dog.
Yeah, I think 7 out of 10 for me.
Yeah.
It's really good. It's not that it's bad or anything. It's just it definitely you know what, it reminds me of like the first season of Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Where it's like it's you know good, really good budget.
Yeah.
It could be better. The set pieces seem smaller than I think this seems safe. I think they wanted to. Mm-hmm. It's crazy budget, but as little money as they wanted just to see because it might not work. Mm-hmm. And so now that we know it's working, I think season 2 we're gonna longer episodes because 30-minute episodes is fucking no.
Yes.
I want way longer episodes.
Yeah. Wasn't the last one
it to be
45?
bigger? Yeah, the last one is for 45, but still though, like I want hour-long episodes. Yeah. Like that. Give me that. Give me 45 minutes and hour-long episodes. I want bigger set pieces. I want like more characters. I want a more serialized story. I don't mind the like kind of adventure of the week stuff, but it's not my favorite type of way to consume. Mm-hmm. I like more serialized stories, so I want that. So 7 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, again, like there were a few things that like I was like, yeah, I don't mind this, and I don't really like that. But at the end of the day, man, like I was fully entertained. Like
How dare we go back to Tatooine? Yeah. Like actual sin. Actual sin. Stop.
Again.
Stop with dirt.
I don't think they've explained who that guy was that walked up to Ming Young Wen.
That's Boba Fett.
Fucking oath, man. That chink, 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 chink. Definitely, that was.
You hear spurs, and he has a cape, and it's definitely a Mandalorian with spurs, and the only Mandalorian with spurs we know is Boba Fett.
And
so in season 2, what'll most likely happen is Moff Gideon will probably hire Boba Fett to try to kill Din Djarin.
Yeah. Why are there all these Jin? That's a very popular name in Star Wars. All of a sudden, there's a fucking heaps of them. But anyway.
Last episode. All right, whatever.
Yeah. Anyway, like, as I said, man, I absolutely love this show. What I'll do is I'm going to put that Alex Jones prequel video at the very end of this, just so people can, go, have a look and sort of get that breakdown because it is fucking fascinating. And love or hate the guy, man, he fucking understood those fucking movies better than I did the 100th times that I watched it. So, listen, man, this has been a great conversation. Fucking as always, man. I'm glad that you were able to do the first episode. I hope you come on.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no, I hope you come back and do plenty more. And again.
Can I shout out my stuff that I've been working on?
Yeah, shit, go for it, man.
So, all right, let me just whore myself out real quick. Yeah. I started streaming on Twitch. That's kind of my main thing right now. Twitch.tv/Fieldstone is my thing. You can go there. I also have a Discord. You can find that at that in the about page of the Twitch. You can follow me, Instagram at Fieldstone Studio, Twitter Fieldstone Music. I've been streaming on Twitch. That's what I'm going to go do right now is work on setting up my stream. I've been playing Zelda Breath of the Wild lately.
Are you still doing the old podcast?
Yeah, still doing my podcast. The
Yep.
last episode, you can go find that too. At this point, my Discord's kind of the best place to go.
Okay.
So you can find the link for that and I have a pinned tweet on my Twitter, or you can go to the Twitch page and there's a little snake. The Snake Oil Club is the name of the Discord. So you can click the link and find that, and I have links to my podcast and my everything there.
Yep.
But yeah, twitch.tv/Fieldstone. That's me.
All right, nice, man. Again, like, this has been a fucking blast, as it always is. We didn't get into many political stuff, but maybe next time we can change things up and talk about the impeachment or something like that. You know, maybe we can...
Nothing's happening. It's fine. It's not important.
All right,
Just the least important.
that, or if another Star Wars show comes out, then yeah, definitely. But yeah, all right, man. Listen, you've been listening to Podlitical Night, episode fucking 1. And I couldn't do episode 1 without talking about Star Wars. So I hope everybody enjoyed this. Go check out, I was about to say Louis, sorry mate. Lewis's stuff all over Twitch, and so I don't know too much about Twitch, so he did a better job explaining it than I did. And if you want more episodes like this, just hit me up in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe, and I will see you guys later.
Let me just briefly explain Revenge of the Sith plot line, because at the time we wrote articles about it because the media said we don't understand this. This makes no sense. The most popular of the 3 prequels. They made total sense. Emperor Palpatine was a little-known senator from Naboo, small planet. He finances terrorists to attack the planet. And then he plays victim and says that the pacifist republic isn't doing enough to help him with the terrorist invasion, the Trade Federation invasion, who even speak in Chinese accents. It's all geopolitical. And so, little aliens with Chinese accents. He then goes and complains and catapults himself in the crisis into the role of chancellor. Because, he was the victim, but now he demanded something be done. He'd been a pacifist previously. Now he's chancellor. Episode 2 launches terror attacks all over the galaxy with groups he's secretly financing through his backers in the Trade Federation. He turns around and double crosses in the end. Lord Vader killed Viceroy Gunray and everyone else in the... So basically, in the end, they knock out all of the people that backed him, which always happens. Nazi Germany, Soviet Russia, Maoist China, learn from history. Then in episode... so he uses that to build up the power of the empire in episode 2. And now he's got this big Imperial army, but it's not Imperial yet. But it's the stormtroopers, the outfits, the weapon systems to counter this outside threat run by Count Dooku, the Osama bin Laden guy that actually works for him, and they meet in secret. Now, in episode 3, he launches an attack on the Imperial capital himself. He launches an attack on New York. And then he gets captured, and then he sets up Count Dooku to get killed, and then he seduces to the dark side Anakin Skywalker to make him Darth Vader. And in the end, he then sets up, after he has the police state in place, he sets up the Jedi and says they're terrorists and has the anti-terror forces go in and wipe them out. And then he says he's launching a global intergalactic war to bring peace. Now, the media could not understand, wait, and they actually wrote articles, Emperor Palpatine's attacking himself, it makes no sense. Adults cannot understand children-level ideas, okay? Child-level ideas. Child level. How can you not understand it?